the objectively better of the two Galaxy games, so no arguments allowed. So I assume you are ready for a countdown, yes?
Yeah, you can give a countdown and 10 will get you.
Okay, let's get world record in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, here we go. Super Mario Galaxy 2 any %. So, this game, in terms of any %, is a lot like its predecessor, as well as Super Mario 64, where you need a specific number of stars in order to beat the game. In this game, it's 70. And then, of course, Bowser's Galaxy Generator also counts as a star, so the total will end up being 71. So we got this little 2.5-minute intro sequence here. And we're already introducing you I'm already introducing you to the fastest form of movement in the game, which is just long jumps. That's simply just the fastest form of movement you can do when you don't have like any special items and you need to cross a long distance. So within less than a minute of starting the game, we are introduced to this Luma, who's going to go into Mario's hat and give us the ability to spin, and just like Galaxy 1, spinning is basically mandatory to beat the game. You can gain extra height out of your jumps, you can hit levers, you can kill enemies, you can enter launch stars, stuff like that. Alright, so right there is the first trick of the run, known as a slope boost. So, when you have a high amount of speed and you land on a slope like that, and jump within the first few frames of landing, you can actually gain quite a bit of speed from the jump, and you'll be seeing me use that a couple times throughout this run. Unlike Galaxy 1, you actually can't climb up slopes in this game. That was patched, sadly. It's not like, I can't really think of any places where it would be useful, though. Unfortunately, you kind of just have to mash through these text boxes. Not a whole lot you can do other than, like, I guess appreciate the lore. It's your standard Mario story, I guess. Coming up, there is a text box skip that I could potentially get, but I'm not really going to go for it, and it was analyzed by How to Cantaloupe. Basically, when you, on this first, basically, there's a bunch of sets of text boxes here, but the second set of text boxes has 4, and if you wait just a little bit on the first 2 text boxes and then get the third one frame perfect, you can skip the 4th one, so I'm just going to max through it and see what happens. Okay, I didn't get it. It's not really that much of a time saver, and it's frame perfect in 60 frames per second, so not really worth going for. Now we're out of there, and it's time to begin the first star of the run, Sky Station 1. And right off the bat, you're going to see just how action-packed this game is at top level. So, first of all, to skim through text quickly, just like Galaxy 1, you just hold A, except text is much faster in this game. And we can long jump walking up here, and we've already skipped the bottom half of that planet. And if I stand still here after that Luma's done talking, that launch star cutscene ends about half a second earlier. Okay, so right here I'm going to do the first landing cancel the run, which is that. So when I land on the ground from a launch star, I'm going to typically enter first person mode as soon as I land. Oh, I did not mean to grab that one up. I'm going to typically enter first person mode as soon as I land and then exit it immediately, and this cancels the landing animation and allows me to move right away. Right. There's a strat there you can do called Luma Bounce, where you do a homing ground pound off that Luma and reach that planet with the launch star over there. It takes like 1 second, but I kind of screwed up the setup for it, so I just took the launch star like intended. There's the first common medal of the run. Common medals are another necessity to making sure you beat the game properly. So yeah, landing animation cancels save like 1 second each time you do one, and since you take a lot of launch stars in this run, you can obviously save a lot of time. And with that, we are heading off to the first boss of the run. And this is Pee-wee Piranha. So this guy has fast strats as well, so you're intended to spin at his shell like 2 or 3 times to break it, but you can actually just ground pound the thing once and it breaks the shell entirely. And then I used some star bits there to kind of stun him, to make sure he couldn't get away. This second phase is much easier than the first. He doesn't try to run away as quickly. And that is the first star of the run. A little bit of a sloppy Sky Station 1, but since I didn't really die anywhere, there's a ton of jumps in this star that are easy to die on. And typically if you die, it's a reset. So thankfully I'm glad that I got out of that with very low mistakes. Alright, so during this little stats text box, I guess you'll notice in the lower right hand corner there's an in-game time. That's actually really useful for grinding out ILs, or if you're practicing for consistency, that's a good thing to use. Anyways, this is Lava. He's kind of the Rosalina of this game. Gives you all the exposition and whatnot. This is kind of the longest series of text boxes in the run. Just like Galaxy 1, this game does have a lot of downtime. So be ready for that. There's usually around like 45 seconds to a minute in between each star. Usually I'll find something to talk through to fill the time. Anyways, now Lubba's going to use the power of this one star to transform this crappy spaceship into Starship Mario, somehow. Nintendo logic, don't argue with it. So this is kind of the hub world of the game. Throughout the game, you'll unlock like a bunch of NPCs and whatnot that you can interact with, but we don't want to explore the ship in a speedrun. We just want to get to this yellow button as soon as possible, or the helm, so that we can go to the Super Mario Bros. 3-esque world map and go from galaxy to galaxy to collect stars, because that's what we need. Also, before that save text box, I was holding down so that Mario would face the camera, and that allowed me to do a backflip to the helm. That's typically what I'm going to do if Mario is facing away from the helm, which he'll usually be. But there are several instances where he'll be facing the button, and in those cases, I'm usually just going to turn Mario around and then backflip. There are a few stars that place you on the bottom of the starship or in the engine room, and we'll get to this when we get to this. Yeah, I want to explain this real quick. So, whenever there's a clear star, and you want to select it, you can select it by just pointing your Wii Remote off screen and pressing A to automatically select it so you don't have to point at the screen. There are certain instances where I am going to have to point, and because it only works for stars that you haven't already collected. So here's Sky Station 2. It's not nearly as flashy as Sky Station 1, but there's still a ton of cool tricks everywhere. That chomp cycle is really hard to make. Controls in this game can be a little weird sometimes, especially because of gravity and whatnot. Unfortunately, that stand still to make launch star cutscenes end earlier trick doesn't work anywhere else in the game, so I kind of have to wait. Here's a pretty cycle-based planet, so I have to be really, really good with my movement here. It's not a huge deal if I don't make it past this cycle, as long as I can back it up decently, but this is looking pretty good so far. Okay, I kind of got rushed up on that platform there, but that's fine. That doesn't cost too much time. Now we've got the first flip switches of the run. So you step on these, and once you step on all of them, you solve the puzzle. And in this case, we solve the puzzle and we get more flip switches. And here's the first instance of Cosmic Clones. So in Galaxy 1, you saw the Cosmic Luigi races. In this game, you have Cosmic Clones, which basically copy your every move and make backtracking impossible. So you really want to be careful around those guys. They're not too bad there, but there are parts of the run later on where they get really obnoxious. Alright, this last planet is kind of straightforward, but can be a little annoying sometimes. While I'm here, I do want to talk about one other way you can cancel landing animations, because this is going to also be kind of relevant throughout the run. So, the first way you can cancel landing animations, like I said earlier, is you go into first-person mode when you land and exit out of it immediately. But there are some instances where you actually can't do that, such as at the start of a stage, you can't move the camera at all. And in those cases, I'm going to be going for a frame-perfect jump as soon as I land to jump out of the landing animation. There are around 45 stars or so that I go for this on. But again, it is frame perfect in 60 frames per second, so I'll probably get it like 5 times as fast. Alright, so Laba's going to mention co-op mode here, so if you have a second Wii remote, you can use it's kind of an orange Luma, and basically it can stun enemies, it can kill enemies, it can hit levers from afar, it can pick up coins, star bits, It's not like Galaxy 1 where it can give you an extra jump, but it can be useful, but it's not really too much of a use for this category, for this game, so I'm just using one player. There's only really like 1 or 2 stars, so you could theoretically save a decent amount of time on. Anyways, here's Yoshi Star Galaxy. So Yoshi is without a doubt the most broken thing in this game. And it's definitely what separates Galaxy 2 from Galaxy 1 in terms of like technicality and whatnot. So with Yoshi, there is a glitch you can do known as infinite fluttering, and it kind of speaks for itself as to how much you can accomplish. And I'm going to be abusing this basically throughout every single time I have Yoshi, such as right here. Alright, I'm going to go for a skip here, that's kind of difficult. Alright, I got it first try, sweet. That's one of the biggest reset points of SMG2 any%, so I'm really happy that I got that first try. That's really good. And it saves like 20 seconds and you lose about 45 to it if you die. So we got another pretty good infinite flutter here at the start of this planet. This is one I'm going to be using to gain height. I'm going to try to catch an elevator cycle here. So I should probably explain how to infinite flutter because I just did it like 3 times in this star. So how to infinite flutter with Yoshi is you basically start a flutter, and then while you're in midair, you can actually crouch to cancel both the flutter and the cooldown. Because normally there's like a short cooldown in between flutters, so to prevent you from repeatedly fluttering like that, but crouching cancels that and allows you to immediately start fluttering again. And you can do that as many times as you want. And optimally for gaining speed, because you saw I was kind of going fast there. So when you want to go fast with infinite fluttering, you want to be holding a direction that's slightly sideways and in the direction of Yoshi's back, because that basically allows him to go the fastest. Although if you're in the air for longer than 10 seconds, you will lose almost all of that speed automatically. So I have to be really careful with that, which is why when I did that first skip, I bounced off the berry by tonguing to prevent myself from eating it, just because without that I would not have been able to make it before the cooldown. Alright, here is Yoshi Star 2. This is yet another star where we're going to be abusing infinite fluttering, as you might expect. And this time I'm going to be using it to skip almost the entire level. Also, that's a jump cancel right there. So, keep that in mind. So I'm going to get on Yoshi and just infinite flutter straight to the boss planet. This camera turn midway here is a little bit obnoxious, but... And there you go. So that skip probably saves like close to a minute. It's really, really big. And it's honestly not too difficult. Really, most of the infinite flutters in this game just come down to getting the angles down. And getting the rhythm down, especially. So here's Giga like Kichu, the first motion control-based boss, which gets pretty annoying at times. So you gotta pray that your sense of art doesn't mess me up here. Also, here's kind of a cool little glitch that's completely useless. You can, if you uncrouch and spin on the same frame, you can get Yoshi in that kind of sliding state. It's, again, completely useless, but it looks really cool. Okay, I got that. That's really good. So what I did there is a kind of a cycle skip, but not really. Basically, I hit both of those spinies once so that I could get one in Yoshi's mouth, fire it at Giga like Pichu, and then get that second one in Yoshi's mouth before the first one made contact, which allowed me to shoot him right at the start of that phase so I don't have to sit through like Giga like Pichu throwing a bunch of spinies. It saves a good chunk of time. And there you go. Alright, so the first 4 stars are usually the hardest to get out of for most speedruns, so the fact that I'm playing as well as I am is really nice. So we're done with those 2 galaxies for now. Now we're going to be moving on to Spin Dig Galaxy, where we're going to be introduced to the first of Mario's power-ups, aka the Spin Drill. So what this power-up allows you to do is dig through planets. And basically, you can drill on one side of a planet and end up on the other side, which you can use to, which you're intended to use throughout the start for a bunch of puzzles and whatnot. But one thing Nintendo forgot to account for when making this game is that Mario can jump. So there's going to be a lot of, we're going to be skipping the spin drill a lot in this star just by jumping to places where you intended to use it, to use the drill, such as right here at the start. I'm just going to use a triple jump to get up here. Alright, as you can see, I'm already up here. I'm going to grab some star bits for a skip later on. And now here I'm going to perform a homing ground pound, which is what I would have done for Limbo Bounce. I'm going to spin followed by a ground pound, and what this does is it causes Mario to home onto the nearest item, enemy, or NPC. And by doing it off that drill, I'm able to get some backwards momentum, which saves a little bit of time. And right here I'm going to do one of the only clips in the game. I'm going to jump backwards against the corner of this pillar, and it kind of clips me inside and saves a couple seconds of walking. Normally I would have to walk all the way to another dirt patch and do that drill. This planet's relatively straightforward. We just kind of want to go through here. I should probably briefly talk about coins and star bits. You actually want to avoid them as much as possible throughout this run, because after every star, if you have coins and star bits in your inventory, then there's text boxes that waste 1 second each. And so by not having star bits or coins in your inventory, then you save some time. Also, we don't like talking to Captain Toad, so we're just going to shoot him in the face. That is actually the skip, and it does save a good amount of time. Alright, so here is Dig a Leg. This is probably the first major instance of RNG in the run. And it's not even that significant if I get good RNG or not. So for these second and third hits, I'm going to be brushing up against Dig a Leg, and I want him to jump on top of me. He can either jump one way or the other. Okay, that's good RNG. So he's going to jump all the way to the other side of the battlefield, and now he's going to immediately become vulnerable, which saves a really good amount of time. Also, I want to keep those yellow enemies alive for as long as I can, because if I can keep them alive, then Dig a Leg won't spawn anymore. Alright, and I got perfect RNG, which is really good. Almost got wrecked by that enemy. That was really good. Big one. And I don't like walking all the way to the star, so I'm just going to drill straight to it. And I don't even have to jump to get the star because hit boxes. So this is going to be the first instance of getting brought down to the bottom of the starship. This happens a few times in the run. It's usually when Lava wants to kind of show you like an NPC or something. Again, we don't want to explore the starship, so we just want to get to that button as soon as possible. So I'm going to take kind of an up-left route. There's like 3 different routes you can take, and it doesn't really matter which one you take. I just prefer this one because I'm pretty sure it's faster. And I kind of screwed up the movement, but that's okay. Doesn't waste too much time. Okay, so here's right side down galaxy. So this galaxy kind of messes with the idea of gravity. And I like to call this the level Nintendo meant for you to break, because there's a lot of skips that are pretty much like just conveniently placed objects or level geometry. And it's actually kind of hilarious. So first we have this pretty cool backflip at the start, and if I do this right, I can go all the way to the flower at the very bottom. Which is that. And now I'm going to skip this gravity lever here by not jumping into that Goomba. Okay, I'm just going to backflip over here. Get over the switch, please. I'm going to long jump over to this item block, and then use that to skip that gravity lever by jumping all the way down here. I'm going to do another slow boost here, hopefully. Nice. I'm going to skip another gravity lever here by using these conveniently placed elevators to jump right down to where the gravity lever would normally take me. Yeah. Not very good design on Nintendo's part. But it's fast, so we're gonna go with it. Alright, so I'm gonna do a fast fireball making technique here. I'm gonna be crouching while I make the fireballs. And this allows Mario to kind of shoot them out a lot quicker in much more rapid succession. You can actually skip breaking some of these boxes if you have really good movement, but it's really risky and I'm not very good at it, so I'm not gonna bother with it. Plus, in this game, getting crushed is a one-hit kill. It doesn't matter how much health you have, you will automatically die if you get crushed. So it's kind of risky. It's a high risk, low reward situation. Oh yeah, and you can skip this entire area by just blowing quickly on the ceiling. Okay. That's fine. That wasn't too great of a right side down one, but it could have gone way worse. And that skip I did at the end there, you're actually intended to go up there, and how we know that is there are one-ups in the four corners of that area. So, good job, Nintendo. So I'm going to revisit Right Side Down now for its hidden star, or secret star, as I'm going to call them. And this is going to require re-entering Right Side Down 1, and since I've already seen the cutscenes, the game's going to allow me to skip them. Which, this game is a lot better at doing than Galaxy 1, in my opinion. But as you can see, I was just mashing A through that, because I don't have to watch those cutscenes again. And I'm going to once again skip this gravity lever here by just jumping straight into the pipe. Like that. It's really easy. So this is a box minigame where I have to break a bunch of boxes with Fire Mario in a 20-second time limit. This is probably the harder of the two box minigames in this run, and I'm really bad at it, so I'm probably going to aim for like a 9 or a 10. Optimally, you can get like a 12 or a 13. But let's see how this goes. Okay, already off to a wonderful start. $11. That's really, really good for me. That was almost flawless. Alright, was definitely not expecting that. Alright, so that went well. Okay, so now that galaxy is done, and we're never going to go back there again. So now that I have 7 stars, we're going to get introduced to the Bank Toad, which is now going to appear on Starship Mario. And he's going to be important for later on. So keep him in mind. Because now that that's done with, we're going to go to Fluffy Bluff Galaxy, where we're going to be introduced to yet another one of Mario's power-ups, the Cloud Flower, which is new to this game. And this power-up has its own set of broken physics. Broken in parentheses. So for this first star, I'm actually going to be doing the secret star first. I'm going to be collecting 100 coins to feed a Hungry Luma. In this game, you use coins to feed Hungry Lumas in galaxies instead of star bits. This is actually the first Hungry Luma in the game, but it requires the most coins. But there's like 2 areas where there's a good chunk of coins. Okay, here's something kind of funny. If I long jump into this cloud flower, then Mario long jumps this way, but he's facing the camera. It's completely useless. Also, I'm going to grab these starbits before the lava transition. I like doing that. I have to be careful in this room, because if the coin timer runs out on these first 2, then I potentially will have to ditch the mission and do a different star. But thankfully there is a backup star I can do that is like right where I would need to go anyways. So I'm going to exit this room with exactly 60 coins, and the remaining 40 are going to be on the cloud right next to the Hungry Luma. I have to make sure I don't miss any of these. It is very easy to get too hasty in this one. Oh, we're good. Also, reminder that this game has an amazing soundtrack. Like, it's definitely one of the highlights of playing this game for sure, is the music. Okay, so now that I've unlocked this planet, we're going to go to this really big tower here. And it looks like it's going to take forever to climb, but it's going to take me like 15 seconds. Okay, that was perfect. Alright, so I did a bunch of things with the cloud flower there. The major thing I was doing was every time I make a cloud, I'm crouching, because this cancels the cloud making animation and allows me to land on the cloud sooner, which is not only faster because you skip the animation, but also it allows me to utilize the bounce of the cloud, because in this game, there's a mechanic where if a platform underneath you is moving, then that platform's movement will actually apply to Mario's jumps. So in that case, the platform moving up allows my jumps to go higher. And I'll be abusing that quite a bit throughout this run in a few interesting ways. Okay, so here's Fluffy Bluff 1. I'm going to be doing a really big skip in this level as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the cloud flower, hopefully. I'm going to try to get onto this tree. That's unfortunate. Now I have to wait for this cloud to disappear. There we go. Now I'm going to jump off the side of this cloud here, and with a couple of well-placed clouds, I can skip all the way to the last planet of the galaxy. Really easy and saves a ton of time. Here I'm going to do cloud boosting, or cloud boosted long jumps, the more technical term. So this is once again making a use of the platform mechanics I was talking about earlier. I'm making a cloud on the ground, and then while the cloud's bouncing upwards, I'm long jumping, and this just gives me a huge amount of height to my jump. That was kind of sloppy, but at least I didn't make any too major mistakes. Also, keep that chimp in mind. We'll be seeing him later on as well. This is a pretty okay World 1 so far. A couple of sloppy levels, but nothing I can't really handle. Oh yeah, and a couple times throughout the run we'll be brought down to the engine room here to see Mario get a new power-up. We can't actually use the power-up, we can just stare at it and gloat about it, I guess. I don't entirely know what the purpose of this room is. But once again, we don't want to spend any time in here, so we're just going to get out as soon as possible. I was trying to go for a triple jump there, but luckily I'll have several opportunities to show that off. I'll get stuck on the button, please. Now it's time for our first boss level. So there's 6 worlds in this game, and there's a boss level in every world, and they will alternate between Bowser Jr. and Bowser stages, and typically the levels are really difficult. And this one's no exception. So in addition to a really difficult stage with a really tight cycle to make, this also has one of the hardest bosses in the game to learn, especially when with the optimal strats. So we're going to hope for the best here. The stage movement's going to be really difficult. I'm going to try to make a tight cycle with this swamp here to get on top of the castle. And this requires really good movement, so I'm going to try to focus here. Alright, should be good. Alright, we're good. So I'm going to get on top of the castle here. And the gravity field of this planet is really big, so I'm just going to long jump into it. And that's a frame-perfect ground pound, which you can do by spinning and ground pounding on the same frame. It's the only way to ground pound out of a long jump. But again, frame-perfect in 60 FPS, and it relies on motion control, so it's really hard to manipulate. I'm going to be going through those a few times throughout this run as well. Anyway, so here's Gobblegut, the best boss in the game. So what you're intended to do is have him bury his face into the planet and then take out the bellyache bulges as they get stuck in the planet before going in. But you can actually attack him while he's in the air. And with this strats that I'm going to do, I want nothing to go wrong. So, let's see here. Okay, that went perfectly. So, I got the 5th, 6th, and 1st bulges respectively. So now I'm going to go down in a straight line to make Gobblegut kind of follow me closely. And right here, I'm going to turn right and go around. And then just try to take out all 3 of these in one fell swoop. Alright, that was a perfect Gobblegut. Again, really difficult to execute that boss fight perfectly. There's so many things that can go wrong, and one mistake can cost you up to 20 seconds. And here's the best part. I have to fight that boss twice in this run. Once here and once in the Comet. So I get another opportunity to show you just how bad that fight can be. So with that, we are done with World 1. That was a pretty solid World 1 overall. I'm really happy with how that went. And in between every world, we're going to have this really long cutscene of Mario going to the next world with this Grand Star. Because apparently Grand Stars allow you to travel to other worlds. I don't know. I didn't do that in this game. And we're going to have to deal with Lubba talking. Lubba's dialogue is kind of hilarious, though, so it's not a huge problem. Anyway. Now we're moving on to World 2, which is the shortest world segment in the run. We only get 7 stars here in this segment. And we're going to be starting off with Puzzle Plank 1, which does have a really jammin' song, so I'd be looking forward to that. But overall, this first star here is pretty straightforward. There's a couple of minor skips I'll be going for, but overall there's not a whole lot to say about the star, except for the very last planet, which you're going to see during these intro cutscenes here. The last planet has really strange properties with the gravity that I'll get into when I actually get there. So I'm going to mash A here, like I do for most stars, and try to get a jump cancel. Didn't get one. These first 2 planets are very, very straightforward. I'm going to do a skip here where I'm going to backflip into this launch star to skip going to the bottom of the planet. So one of the major differences between Mario and Luigi, which I'll get into now, is Mario spins higher if you spin with the Wii remote, but Luigi spins higher if you spin with the nunchuck. Both characters will spin higher if you hold the A button while spinning. So make sure you keep that in mind when learning the Galaxy games. This second here can be kind of awkward. This soft is really easy to hit, but I managed to get over it. It's coming up as that planet you saw during the level cutscenes that I said is really weird. It's possible for these first 2 puzzle pieces to get 2 stomps on them with just 1 ground pound due to the way the gravity is on this section. It's kind of random when it happens, so it's really difficult to reproduce consistently. So let's see what I can get here. Okay, yeah, I didn't get any there, but basically I just stomped the platform in twice with just 1 ground pound. It would save like maybe a second or 2. Anyways, here's a short little mini boss that we're gonna make quick work of. And that's Puzzle Plank 1. Again, relatively straightforward star. Okay, so now that we've gotten our first star from World 2, Lubba's going to do a short little world map sequence for us, but he's going to introduce us to the Grand World Map, which allows you to navigate between individual worlds. And this is really useful for navigating, when you want to navigate from, let's say, World 5 to World 3, you can just open the Grand World Map and just go from World 5 straight to World 3 without having to backtrack through the entirety of the world. But of course we don't care about what Lubba has to say because it's a speedrun. So we're going to move on to Hightail Falls. This is, kind of has a Western style name to it, so say it in a Western accent if you will like. And this is probably one of the coolest looking Yoshi levels in the beginning of the game. Because we're introduced to the Dash Pepper, which makes Yoshi go really, really fast. And you can also run up walls. I'm also going to be collecting Starbits during the star because you can't spit out Starbits while you're on Yoshi, and there's a lot of Starbits in this level, so might as well. So the couple things to note about the Dash Pepper is if you're running up a wall and you bonk on a wall, if you're running up a really, really steep slope and you bonk on a wall, you'll fall all the way down, and you have to reclimb the wall. And it also lasts in between launch stars, so I'm going to try to preserve its effects for as long as I can. Which is why I'm going to be taking the left path here, because there's a Dash Pepper here I can grab for extra time save. Although that maneuver right there is really, really difficult. It's really tight. So yeah, I grabbed that so I can keep the dash pepper for this section. I'm going to grab this dash pepper late just to prolong its effects. I'm going to do these cool jumps here at the edge of these ramps. As far as I know, they don't lose or save any time, and they're really easy to do, so might as well show it off. Here's the easiest infinite flutter skip in the game. This is so easy, you actually don't have to crouch in between any of the flutters. You can just make it with letting the cooldown run between each flutter, and you'll still make it without having to dismount off the other two. Pretty neat. I did not mean to grab that. What I did there is, so something I haven't mentioned until now is when you backflip off of Yoshi in this game, you maintain all the momentum you had going into the backflip. So by getting Dash Yoshi, running up a steep slope, and dismounting, you can gain a lot of speed and distance and height. And I use that to just kind of fling myself right into the star. That's probably one of the coolest looking strats in the entire run. So now I'm going to be moving on to Cosmic Cove Galaxy, which is a somewhat calm and relaxing water level. It's got soothing music and a pretty chill atmosphere. But this is a rather technical stage to do. There's a lot that goes into both of these stars here. So for this first star, I'm going to be collecting 15 coins to feed a hungry Luma. And the route here it's a little strange. The routing for this galaxy overall is really strange at 90%, but it makes sense once I explain it. So I'm going to launch up over here and grab some star bits in the scuba shell and go underwater. I'm going to use these star bits to... If you kill these little squirmy enemies with star bits, rather than just normally using the shell, then you'll get coins from them instead of star bits. I'm going to do this twice. I'm going to try to get this one over here. That was a little bit slow, but at least I didn't miss the coin or enemy or anything. So in this game, swimming with the shell and swimming with spins are actually roughly the same speed. Swimming with the shell, I think, is slightly faster, and it requires way less exercise, so I'm lazy, so I'm going to use the shell. Because, in Galaxy 2, unlike Galaxy 1, there actually is a cooldown between spins underwater, so you can't just abuse them. Also, surface swimming doesn't exist in this game. Okay, getting up onto this platform is really awkward sometimes, even with that shore launch. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to feed this Hungry Luma and unlock the planet, but I'm not going to go to there yet. Just because of the way this level is laid out and because of the way everything is placed, it's actually faster to do this during Cosmic Cove 1 and then just get the secret star later. So I'm just going to go straight over to this waterfalls here and just get the first star, and then I'll get the secret star right after this. That was overall not too bad. I was a little slow at like the beginning there, but that's a Cosmic Cove 1 I'll accept. So now comes probably one of the hardest parts of the entire game. Remembering to select Cosmic Cove 1. So earlier I talked about how you can auto-select a clear star by just pointing your Wii remote off screen and select and just pressing A. You don't want to do that here because I'll accidentally select Cosmic Cove 2 and the area I need access to isn't available in Cosmic Cove 2. So I would have to let the intro cutscenes play out, land in the level, and then exit the galaxy and go back in. So I just got to remember to select Cosmic Cove 1 manually. Which, since I'm talking about it right now, I'm going to remember to do it. Unless my sensor bar messes up on me here. And once again, I've already seen the level cutscenes, so I'm just going to skip them. Lots of that penguin there, so I can grab them into the water. Once again, I'm going to grab the shell here. I'm also going to grab a few star bits. And you might be wondering why, and my answer to that is you'll find out in just a few seconds. Again, shell is just kind of the fastest form of underwater movement. And you can also do those shore launches, which are obviously rather useful, such as right here. So say hello to the only bunny in the entire game, and I'm going to try and make quick work of this guy. Alright, nice. So you're supposed to hit the switch that freezes the lake and then skate to catch the bunny. But if you stun him with star hits for whatever stupid reason, he just runs the wrong way. And you can use that to catch him without freezing the lake, and it saves a few seconds. That's actually one of the advantages. I'm playing in the 16:9 widescreen ratio. That's one of the places where it saves time, because it makes that strat so much easier, and it also makes a couple of cycles later on in the run way more convenient, and it makes a certain skip a lot easier to do. So we're done with Cosmic Hope, and now I'm going to move on to Boulder Bowl 1. So I technically could have done this star earlier, but I want to get this star as my 15th star for reasons I'll explain afterwards, to cause some overlapping events on the starship that will ultimately save some travel time. This star also has a relatively big skip in it. You can skip a really annoying and long enemy planet, this one right here, by using gravity. You can do it both with and without Rock Mario present. It's a lot harder with Rock Mario, but I have to do it on this star because I need the Comet Medal, and in order to get the Comet Medal, I need Rock Mario, and I have no way to lose it. But you will see the method without Rock Mario and later on in the run. I'll grab the Comet here. So after I break this ramp, I'm going to head to the very edge of it. I'm going to use that ramp to kind of give me some momentum there. And I'm going to line myself up. Oh, please. Okay. I got really scared there. Okay, we're good. That was really scary. Thankfully that worked. Okay. I thought I was going to die there. Dying there does waste a good amount of time. Anyway. So, I actually have a visual cue for that skip for spinning, so it's not terribly difficult. But now we get to face one of the most annoying bosses in the entire run, at least for me. So Rollodillo, to damage him, you get Rock Mario and you roll into his back. Fairly simple. But what I'm going to be doing for these next 3 hits is I'm going to try to roll at him from behind without letting him notice me so that he doesn't do this long rolling attack. It's kind of awkward though because he's trying to chase you while you're trying to chase him. And so it gets really awkward. And also, I'm doing these jump spins to kind of extend Mario's time in rock form so I can take him out in just one roll. But the gravity on this planet is really bad, and so sometimes it will eat your jump inputs. And if you land in front of Rollodillo's line of sight, you're basically guaranteed to lose like 10 seconds. But thankfully that fight went perfectly. Which is all that I asked for. I meant to do that directly under the star so I could grab the star with Rock Mario's hitbox. So since I got Boulder Bowl 1, it's going to take me down to the engine room, but now that I have 15 stars, I'm going to get a letter from the mail toad. So what's actually going to happen here is the event in the engine room is going to take place, and then it's going to warp me straight to the mail toad so I can get the letter, which just saves a few seconds of travel time. So, done with that, and now I'm just right here. And it's a letter for a star I'm not even going to get, so whatever. This also conveniently places me right next to the bank toad. So you were probably wondering, where are you going to get all your star bits from for the run? And the answer is from the bank toad. So these are actually star bits from another file, because bank toad star bits will persist in between files. And I need around 4,800 here. That's perfect. So yeah, that's kind of the new game plus standard, but it's kind of the standard for any percent to do that, because that's basically all the star bits I'm going to need for the run for unlocking Hungry Luma Galaxies. So now I don't have to collect star bits in any levels, which is really nice. And although Hungry Luma Galaxies do take a lot of time to unlock, because you gotta feed them, there's a bunch of cutscenes and whatnot. The Hungry Luma stars are usually really, really fast, so it more than makes up for it. For example, this star that I'm about to do here is the fastest star in the run. I'm not even joking. The same thing actually applies to comets. Is sometimes I have to go out of my way to collect comet medals for unlocking comets, but because a lot of comet stars are usually really fast, it's worth it. So basically, the way Honey Bloom's secret works is there's a secret area right at the beginning that involves a bunch of wall jumping, and that's where I'm going to go. Yeah, it's just simple as that. It's a little complicated to pull all that movement off. But once you get it down, it's really easy to do consistently. So like I said, that's the fastest star in the run. Optimally, you can get a time around 16 seconds. 16.5 is usually my average, I'd say. Yeah, 16.45. That was pretty solid overall. Not too much you can ask for. Here's another instance of overlapping events. So this sign appears at 16 stars. And also because I got Honey Bloom Secret, there's a bee that's going to appear on the starship. So now I'm going to be moving on to the boss world, the boss level of this world, which is going to be Bowser's Lava Lair. This is the first Bowser level of 3. And most Bowser levels, pretty much all of the Bowser and Bowser Jr. levels as well have some pretty nice skips and whatnot. And this level is definitely a good pinnacle of no major skips, but just a bunch of tiny skips that add up and save a good chunk of time. So if I pulled this level off perfectly, I think you'll like how impressive it looks. So the first ththing I'm going to do is skip this Kamek fight. You're supposed to make a pole star appear here, but why do that when you can just long jump straight into the Times Grab field? It's pretty simple. I'm going to skip this spring here by side flipping. There we go. And now I'm going to grab this life shroom, because this gives me 3 extra bars of health, and I'm going to need this for a skip later on in the level. And it's important that I don't go below 4 health from this point on, because the skip requires me to have at least 4 health. And this is a place where I could potentially lose the extra health. I'm going to do this to skip a Hammer Bro fight there. Now I'm going to grab this coin so I can have 1 extra health. There we go. There's a bunch of ways you can get this comet medal. I just prefer to do this with a triple jump. Sometimes I wall kick off the swamp, sometimes I ledge grab, and I can just pop right up into it. Other times I can just do a simple triple jump spin. So now here comes the major skip that I needed 4 HP for. I have 5 HP, so I have a little bit of leniency here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to land in the lava. I'm going to bounce on this first statue once, land in the lava again, land on this statue, and I'm immediately able to begin long jumping. So the way bouncing on lava works, and I'm recovering from it, is when Mario bounces on lava and then lands on the ground, he'll do a short hop, and after that short hop, you're able to control him again. But the thing is that whether or not you've activated the short hop actually gets conserved in between lava bounces. So what I did there was I bounced on the first statue, which was the short bounce, landed in the lava again, and since that state got conserved, when I landed on the second statue, I was able to immediately begin long jumping. You need to space that out really well, otherwise it's really easy to die. Anyways, that level went pretty much perfectly. And now we're on to the first Bowser fight of the run. Bowser fights are not as interesting in this game as they are in Galaxy 1. Basically, the premise of it is Bowser slams his fist into the ground. Bowser spawns a bunch of meteors, he slams his fist into the ground, he gets stuck for a little bit, and then you ground pound the meteors into him. And that damages him. You have to do this a total of 4 times, and then you win. So generally, I want to have Bowser punch as close to the meteor as possible, and then I try to ground pound the meteor in such a way so that I travel the least distance in order to reach Bowser. So that was those first 2 hits were really good. A missed hit wastes around anywhere from 15 to 20 seconds, depending on when you miss it. On on this second phase, Bowser's going to do a short little fire attack, and I'm going to want to pay attention to where this ends, because that's where he's going to start aiming his next punch. And if I'm where Bowser's going to start punching, then he'll punch right away. That third hit was not too optimal. I just gotta do one more hit and the fight will be over. By the way, don't triple jump on this planet during this attack. The camera gets really screwed up. Okay, so yeah, Bowser can punch out the meteors, which isn't normally a huge problem in this fight, but in the other two Bowser fights, it can be a really big problem. So you have to pay really close attention to where Bowser's fist is. So sometimes it is actually advantageous to just lure Bowser's fist a small ways away from the meteor so that you don't risk him accidentally punching it. Anyways, that is the end of World 2. So after this beautiful Granny Star cutscene finishes, we can just do a couple long jumps straight to it, and we are done. Pretty solid World 2. This is very respectable pace for me, by the way, so this is still a pretty decent run. But again, this is a 3-hour run, and there's a lot that can go wrong in those 3 hours. Especially, now we're heading on to World 3, which is where I would say the game starts to get really difficult and really punishing. So this is where the segments will start being at least the world segments will start being at least a half-hour long each. And there's a lot of levels in these segments where one simple mistake can cost you a ton of time, especially if you die. Lots of places where big deaths will cost you like a minute. A lot of really difficult strats. And it's just, overall, just a really challenging part of the run from this point forward. Anyways, now we're going to start World 3 off by going to Cloudy Court and doing Cloudy Court 1. And there's not a whole lot to say about this start, other than you're going to be seeing a lot more cloud boosting action. One thing I do want to talk about, though, before I get to it, is the very end of this star. So there's going to be a set of crushers that operate on a cycle. And there's a comet medal in the middle of these crushers, and what I'm going to try to do at the very end is make it through the crushers and collect the comet medal without having to wait for them to close and open again without dying. And it's a little tight, but I have a good setup for it. And again, I'll explain it a little bit better when I get there. That's another jump cancel. So what I'm going to be doing twice here is this. I'm going to cloud boost into a cloud flower, and then that will replenish my cloud stock, which gives me 3 extra clouds. So I essentially use 4 clouds to traverse that gap. If I ledge grab this jump, I can get up here without having to use a cloud. I'm going to skip this launch star just by using some clouds. This Octumbo over here is the worst enemy known to mankind. Okay, if you get a good enough jump, you can actually make it to that cloud flower without having to bounce on the spring. Alright, so now we're in this 2D section, and the crushers are coming up in a little bit here, so I'm going to try to focus. Use the clouds here to skip this wind. Do another 4 cloud strategy here. Okay, crushers are coming up here, so I'm trying to focus here. Alright, perfect. So that's the one cycle. Not too hard with that setup in particular, but it's still really tight. And if you mess that up, you die. And you're very likely to die, and you get sent all the way back to the start of the 2D section, and that costs quite a bit of time. That was a really good Cloudy Court 1 overall, so acceptable. Okay, so now I'm going to be moving on to the Freezy Flake Secret, or Chimp Challenge. So this is the first Chimp Challenge of the run. And how these Chimp Challenges work is basically you need to beat the Chimp's highest score. And this is a skating minigame, and the minigame duration timer is fixed at 40 seconds, so there's no way to speed it up. So it doesn't waste time to go for as high of a score as you can. So So that's what I'm going to be doing. And if you have any bets on what score I'm going to get during this, you can actually guess in the chat, and it's a fun little game you can do. The rules are you have to guess in multiples of 10, and I would suggest a range anywhere between 500 and 900 points. So scores like 670, 580, 730, those are fair game. Okay, that still worked. That's pretty good. So you can guess the closest and get that feeling of satisfaction from winning. So this skating minigame is kind of straightforward, and there's 2 of these that I'm going to be doing. So the way this works is the patterns of the gummits are not RNG, but what is RNG is their rotation. They can be rotated in one of 4 different ways. So obviously you kind of have to figure out patterns for each and every rotation. The green ones give you 10, the orange ones give you 50, and those spiky things hurt you, so don't touch them. Well, they don't hurt you, but they stun you, and you cost a ton of time by doing that. Alright, that's a pretty dank time right there. A pretty dank score. But unfortunately, no one wins, because no one guessed. 5 on 7. And Starget. So if you missed your opportunity there, don't worry. You'll have another opportunity later on. So now I'm going to be doing Freezy Flake 1. This is another kind of straightforward star with not a whole lot to say, other than I am going to be on a very tight cycle. / timer. So the basic premise of this star, that the only really noteworthy thing is the Comet Medal. So why the Comet Medal is so special is because I have a tight cycle to make here. So it's frozen in a block of ice right after the Bowser statue and right after the slide, and that's pretty late into the level. And I'm going to try to get it using this Fire Flower right here. So I'm going to try to get this Fire Flower and then carry this all the way over to the Comet Medal. I have a couple seconds of leniency, and it's not too hard. But it's still pretty tight. You do have to play really well here. Alright, we made it no problem though. Again, I had a second or 2 to spare there, so if I had missed that, I would have had to grab this Fire Flower, blow open that wall, get the Comet Medal, and then wait for the next one to spawn. Because it's pretty much it's very, very difficult, if not impossible, to get that Fire Flower, get the Comet Medal, and then carry it all the way over to this Bowser statue before it runs out. So it would have wasted around 20-25 seconds. Thankfully, it went well. Alright, so here's Luigi. Say hi to Luigi. And now say goodbye to Luigi. So the way Luigi operates in this game is, it's different than Galaxy 1. So from this point forward, he's going to start appearing at the start of various stars, and you can talk to him, and you can actually play as Luigi for that one star. And Luigi is actually advantageful because just like Galaxy 1, he does jump higher and run faster than Mario. However, you do have to talk to him in order to switch to him, and you can only use him for that one star. And then afterwards, he talks to you again. So it actually, switching to a Luigi just wastes too much time for the amount of time he would save. So I'm never going to be using Luigi in this run. And you can only freely switch between Mario and Luigi once Bowser's Galaxy Generator is beaten, but that's kind of the goal of this run. So you're never going to see Luigi in any percent. Although, for the perfect run, which I'm going to be doing right after this, you will see him. Because I will be using Luigi for that. Because that's going to be done in a completed file. Anyways, this is Honey Halls 1. these first few platforms are cycle-based. Those first two are on universal timers, but, okay, not universal timers, but I'll explain that later in the run. And these last two actually appear when you enter certain trigger zones. So I have to enter a certain radius in order to activate them. And again, because you can jump in this game, you can skip most of the waiting around on these things. Okay, I'm going to try to get this comet. This comet platform is really weird with its cycles. Okay, don't hit me. We're good. And now I'm going to get Yoshi, so guess what I'm going to do? Yeah, I don't think I really need to explain it at this point. And infinite fluttering is just too OP. By the way, the power-up I was using there is the Bolt Berry. Basically illuminates certain floors underneath you that otherwise just don't exist. So that floor that I jumped off of to get the star just doesn't exist unless you have the Bolt Berry. So something very important just happened, and that's that I got my 4th star from World 3. From this point on is when comets are going to start appearing. So that's why I've been collecting all these comet medals up to this point. So comets work a lot more simply in this game than they do in Galaxy 1. Basically, in order to unlock a comet, you need a certain amount of comet medals total, and the comet medal in that galaxy, and it will spawn. They don't operate on stupid cycles or anything. I'm going to be collecting a total of 32 comet medals throughout the run. The galaxy with the highest comet medal requirements that I'm getting is Bowser's Gravity Gauntlet. And for instance, this is the first comet that spawned because I have the comet medal for this galaxy and it only requires 1 comet medal. Most comet stars, again, are really fast, so they are definitely worth getting. Anyway, so this is the first Cosmic Clone comet. There's kind of a cool thing you can do on this first planet where if you barely touch the edge of these starships, like I just epically failed there, yeah. If you barely touch the edge of all 5 of these starships, then the Cosmic Clones just don't spawn. And so it doesn't really make getting through this section easier because the Cosmic Clones are really easy to avoid in this star. But it's just kind of a cool thing to show off and it doesn't really lose time to go for. Alright, this section is really, really annoying, because since it's in 2D, and there's these really long vertical planes, any mistakes from this point on are brutal. Because the Cosmic Clones, again, make it really hard to backtrack, and in 2D, it's nearly impossible to get back up when you have a bunch of Cosmic Clones jumping all over the place. Thankfully, we made it through there alright. So from this point on, I'm going to be kind of letting the comets build up in Worlds 1 and 2, and I'll be making a couple of backtracking trips back to them to kind of do some cleanup on them. For the time being, though, I'm just going to stay in World 3. For instance, this comet medal, I have the comet medal for Yoshi Star, and it only requires 2 comet medals. So now I'm going to head off to Tall Trunk. I'm only going to be collecting 1 star from this galaxy, but this is, without a doubt, one of, in my opinion, the most satisfying stars to pull off optimally. These first 2 planets are really, really stylish. This first planet, you're supposed to use Yoshi and the Blimp Fruit to climb up the tree, but that's slow, and vertically infinite fluttering with Yoshi is also really slow, and since Mario is a very skilled acrobat, we can just use his various jumps and whatnot to climb straight up the tree, and that is a really bad angle. So I'm going to jump up here, this long jump's kind of finicky. Ah, I didn't make it. I'm going to have to redo this. Yeah. Oh. This jump again is really, really difficult. It's really difficult to set up. Alright, I'm just going to do this. There we go. That works. Go here. Side the spin. Perfect. Okay, not perfect, because I failed that second jump twice, but look, you know what I mean. So now we're done with skipping Yoshi, because we're going to be abusing him again. I'm going to do a backwards infinite flutter to get this common medal here. This is really awkward. Nice. if I mess that up at all, or if I'm too low for the common middle, or I have to hold forward, then I lose my ability to flutter backwards, so that would be a very bad time loss. So I'm going to dismount off of Yoshi, first of all, to enter this long star a lot quicker. But also, I don't have to ditch him at the start of this planet, so I can ground pound straight down this hole. And he'll just be in his egg ready for me by the time I get here. Unfortunately, I do have to use the Blimp Fruit to climb up this area. There's just simply no faster way to get up here. Vertically infinite fluttering, again, is much slower than just using the Blimp Fruit. Right here, I'm going to shake out of this using the Nunchuck, because I want to be able to easily grab that Blimp Fruit without losing too much height, because otherwise, if I just try shaking the Wii Remote, then my cursor would kind of go flying all over the screen, and it would be a little difficult to grab that Blimp Fruit. So other than that first planet being very sloppy, pretty decent tall shrimp one, that cylinder planet can go horribly wrong in so many different ways. And that was the planet I was most concerned about doing optimally. Okay, so next up, we're going to do Haunty Halls 2, and this level is basically Long Jump Simulator 2010. This level is, I can easily describe this level as just a bunch of long jumps and a spin here and there. Because that's basically just what this star is. Fortunately, it is this does make this one of the more simple stars to do. I'm going to be trying to cut corners as much as I can and take turns as sharply as possible. Long jump on some collision that I probably shouldn't be able to long jump on the last planet. So long jumping optimally in the Galaxy games actually takes a lot more work than you might think. So you might think that all it takes to long jump is you just press Z and A, which is the inputs for long jumping. But it's actually a little bit more than that. You want to press Z and A at around the same time, because you want to make sure Mario doesn't crouch as long as possible, so that when he lands on the ground again, he will immediately start running and not stop before taking off again. And also you want to I'm actually kind of mashing A as I'm doing these long jumps here, as I'm chaining these, just because it's a lot easier to time long jumps optimally, because you do lose some amount of speed if you don't do these long jumps optimally. It's really, oh boy. Okay, so there's some really stupid invisible collision there. I have no idea what it is. And it can kill you. I'm thankful that it didn't there, but it's weird. I don't know what's up with this video game. So a few slip-ups during that star, but overall nothing too major. Again, that's a star that, like, you shouldn't die to, but it's not a surprise if you do. Anyways, now it's time for Beat Block 1. Or Beat Block, I guess. I should probably stop referring to this by the names we give them in our splits. So this Hungry Luma is really weird. For some reason, the very last star bit pretty much always shoots out late. It is kind of useful, though, because since you're able to move during Hungry Luma feedings, I usually just set up a backflip, and that allows me to reach the helm like a second faster than if I just waited. Like that. So Beat Block's gimmick is every 8 beats of the music for this first star, it'll switch between the yellow blocks being active and the green blocks being active. So this star is also very cycle-based, and it's kind of tight to make the fastest cycle, but provided I have good movement, it should not be an issue. But whether or not what kind of movement I do at the start actually depends on whether or not I get the jump cancel, and I did not. So I'm actually going to play it purposely slow here, because I want to try to not get caught by these blocks up here, because they can kind of kill your momentum and really catch you off guard. So yeah, just kind of walk over through here. here. Coming up on the kind of hard part here. Okay, I did not mean to do that. Okay, so I'm just gonna wait here. So that cost me maybe like an entire cycle. That's unfortunate, but at least I didn't die. Okay, so now we're going to begin the first backtracking section. I'm going to get 3 stars from World 1 and 1 from World 2. Just kind of do a little bit of cleanup with comments and whatnot. So now I'm going to head back to World 1 using the Grand World Map like I said earlier. I'm just going to zoom out and backtrack to World 1, like that. And now I'm going to head to Sky Station, and we're going to do the comet here, which is a time attack version of the first star. So this is a speed run star. Apparently a speed run is spelled with a space, according to Nintendo. That makes it official, I guess. So this is kind of a shortened version of the first star. It removes a couple of planets and you still have to do the boss fight, but you only have 20 seconds to start. However, there are these clocks that are scattered throughout the level that give you 10 additional seconds. And so you really just kind of want to get as many of those as possible. So I have a specific route to get through this section, to get through this stage with the clocks. You only really need like 2. I grabbed this one here just for safety. But you honestly don't need it if you can do the boss fight optimally. And this Pee-wee Fried is going to go the exact same as last time. Again, I'm just going to break his shell instantly by ground pounding on top of it. Try to get his first hit quickly, somewhat. Nice. I didn't have to use the star bits. That first hit, again, is much harder to do than the second hit, because he runs away a lot quicker. So one weird thing about this fight is that it can actually soft lock. I think if you shoot him with star bits right before it transitions into a cutscene, then the cutscene just never activates and Pee-wee's just standing there and you can't really interact with him in any way and he can't kill you. If that were to happen on this star, it's not as big of a problem because you can just let the timer run out and kill yourself or just exit Galaxy. If it were to have happened on the first star, though, I would have had to reset the run. Thankfully, it didn't happen. And it's really easy to avoid, too. Also, I gold with that split. Just thought I'd bring that up. Next up, we're going to do Yoshi Star Comet. So this is the first of 4 Romp Stars we'll be collecting. And Romp Stars are basically you kill a bunch of enemies within a certain time period. It's usually 30. And you usually have to use a specific power-up or something in order to do it. So for this star, I'm going to be using the Rainbow Star, which makes Mario invincible. He can kill enemies by touching them. And he also can run really fast, and that's important because I want to try to maintain optimal running speed as long as possible, which involves not running into any walls and not messing up my movement. So let's see how this goes. Okay, I got caught on the slope of that fence there, so I meant to do a long jump there. That part's really awkward. Yeah, bumped into a wall there and I lost all my speed. That's what I was hoping to avoid. This star is also home to one other really irritating factor about this game. So if moving platforms or moving enemies are not on camera, then they just don't update. So right there, a Spiny died off camera, and the count. I know this because the counter didn't update when I killed it. So I actually have to turn the camera there a little bit to get the Spiny on camera so it can die. It's really annoying whenever you get to the end there and you see 29 out of 30 Spinies and you have to rotate the camera around to try to get that one Spiny that died off camera. Although the utilization of moving platforms not moving when off camera is useful at some points in the speedrun. to manipulate cycles and whatnot, and you'll see that several times later on. And we're going to do another Hungry Luma Galaxy here. This one is going to be Flip Swap Galaxy. So the gimmick with this galaxy is there's blue and red platforms, and it will alternate between the blue ones being active and the red ones being active every time you spin. So casually, you have to, the name of the star is think before you shake, which is casually what you have to do. However, there's an interesting aspect. So remember earlier when I said that when a moving platform is moving upwards, and you jump while standing on it, your jump will gain a lot more height. So what I'm going to do is land on one of these platforms as it's moving up, and then long jump, and this will give a huge boost to my long jump, and make you go really high and really far. You can clear huge distances. I'm going to be going for 4 of these in total, and the first 2 are really, really difficult, so I will probably die to one of them. If I die to the second one, I'm only going to go for it that one time. So. But this first one's the one that saves the most time. Also another jump cancel. Okay, I don't know how I didn't die there. Anyway, there you go. I like to call them super jumps, but they go by a variety of names. Here's another one. That one's a little bit more finicky. And these last 2 are basically free. And like you just saw there, you can cancel a spin with a long jump or a single jump, like that. And I got all 4 of them without dying, which is pretty decent. It's really easy to die to any of those, and you lose a considerable amount of time because you don't get any checkpoints, especially if you do that second one, you skip right over the checkpoint. And it's not like they save that much time. Like, you could probably do the level in like 45 seconds without any of the super jumps, but they just look really cool. And they do save some. So I'm going to be done with World 1 for now. There is one more star I need to get in World 1, but I can't get it until later. So I'm just going to head straight to World 2. And I'm going to do Puzzle Links Comet. So this is the first purple coin comet, and you actually have to collect this star in order to unlock every other purple coin comet in the game. Which is kind of funny, because in order to unlock this star, you need to collect Cloudy Corpse Comet, which unlocks every Cosmic Comet in the game. It's kind of weird how that all works out, but that's why I'm collecting this now, because there's going to be a couple of purple coin comets in World 4 that I'm going to want to collect. This is probably one of the most deceptively difficult stars. It's really hard to grab all 4. Yeah, it's really hard to grab all 4 of these purple coins in one go through, and these cosmic ones are a nuisance. I'm also going to be doing these short little hops here, because that does speed Mario up slightly. Okay, I missed 3 purple coins there. Not great, but again, it's really, really hard to do this star properly. So I'm not surprised that happened. Alright, it's time for the Big Daddy stage. Bowser Jr.'s Fearsome Fleet. Anybody who watches me play this game knows what's about to go down. So, there's basically Bowser Jr.'s Fearsome Fleet. This level is supposed to be full of a bunch of auto-scrolling platforms and whatnot. But the level's all basically one height, and you get Yoshi right at the very start, so if you put 2 and 2 together, you can basically come to the conclusion that it's Infinite Flutter Central. There are a couple of methods you can go about doing Infinite Flutters through the stage, and I'm going to be going for the hardest method, and also the fastest by around 10 seconds optimally, which involves 3 consecutive flutters. So the first one is just infinite fluttering from the Yoshi egg to an asteroid, which isn't too hard. The second is infinite fluttering from an asteroid to a question block in the middle of nowhere, which is really hard. And the third is a really precise flutter from the question block through the comet metal underneath one of those glass domes, and then a very precisely timed dismount to reach the launch start platform. I get no checkpoints throughout here, so if I die, I lose a minute, and it's really difficult. So let's see how this goes. I'm gonna give this a couple of fair attempts. So again, this first flutter is not too hard. I side flip without shaking because I get more height out of each infinite flutter that way. So this flutter is really difficult because it's really, really easy to overshoot the question block, and if you're too far forward, you can't get onto the question block, so you have to die. Alright, here's the Big Daddy flutter. Alright, first try. Sweet. Okay, so that last flutter that I did there is easily one of the hardest ones in the game because you need a very specific angle in order to get off there, get through the column metal, and go underneath that structure. Also, the death plane is super close to you, so you can't go really any lower than that or you will die. I'm very happy that I got that first try. That didn't really go too well in practice, so I'm very happy with that. But now it's time for the Mega Hammer boss fight, which is yet another boss where motion control, where your sensor bar is a factor. I'm going to go on Yoshi. I'm going to do a double hit here by standing back, firing that first bull bill off, moving forward a little bit, and then firing that... Oh, I missed it. I fired that second bull bill a little late. I'm just going to get that one. I'm going to avoid getting the double here. I don't actually want to get a double hit here because I want to be able to cancel one of Mega Hammer's animations. So I'm going to fire this one. I'm going to wait for Mega Hammer to start shaking his hammers. And then I'm going to fire that bull bill off because that'll prevent him, that'll cancel an animation where he smashes his hammers together, which wastes a couple seconds. So I'm going to lower 3 bullet bills here. I'm going to use 2 of them to take out this back weak spot. And then I'm going to get the third one in Yoshi's mouth and move close to Mega Hammer. And hopefully this will store through the cutscene. So I don't have to get another bullet bill. Nice, it did. And now I can reach the cockpit of Mega Hammer with just a side flip and a full flutter. And then fire off the bullet bill. You're supposed to wait for him to lower his head before firing those off, but you don't have to wait at all. And I've just got one more flutter to do. Bye-bye, Yoshi. And that is the end of World 3. Yeah, question block flutter there is definitely not an easy flutter to do, especially on good runs when you're under a lot of pressure. So I'm really happy again that that went well, because this is still a really, really good run for me. This is like 10 seconds off my PB right now. But I'm not going to get too cocky yet, because we're coming up on one of the hardest worlds in the entire run. So this World 4 is full of super difficult stages with a lot of tricky strats. Dying or messing anything up can cost you anywhere from like 30 seconds to a minute. It's just really bad. Most mistakes in World 4 are super costly, and there's a lot of easy ways you can make them. And for instance, our first star is going to be Sweet Mystery Galaxy. It's going to be another Hungry Luma Galaxy, so I'm just going to go straight over to that Hungry Luma and feed it 1,200 star bits. So, remember how the last level had a lot of infinite fluttering? This star is more or less the same. It's basically all one height, and you get Yoshi right at the start. So, put 2 and 2 together. Although there's none of the infinite flutters in this level are as tricky as question block flutter. So, it's still pretty difficult though, but it's not as bad. One thing I do want to point out about infinite fluttering though is the inputs to crouch cancel are Z and A. So basically you hold A, tap Z, and then let go of A, let go of Z, and then press A again. Z and A are also the same inputs you do to dismount off of Yoshi. So if you accidentally press Z and A at the same time, then you'll dismount. And that's usually, and 99% of the time you're infinite fluttering over pits, so that will almost always kill you. So here's, there we go. I'm going to start the onslaught of infinite flutter starting now. from here I can just infinite flutter all across these platforms that you would normally have to platform across, use the bolt berry. It's really annoying. It takes a long time, but with infinite flutter we can just traverse it much quicker. I'm gonna grab this checkpoint with Yoshi's tongue for safety. Okay, I'm a little far forward here, so I'm gonna land on this platform. So for this last infinite flutter, I do have to be careful that I don't fall, because since I'm skipping the launch star, there's actually an invisible floor underneath me where you do that flutter, and so if I had fallen, I would, instead of dying, I would have just landed on the invisible floor, and it takes like 20 seconds to find a ledge you can fall off of, and it also takes a pretty long time to fall, even with the ground pound. Thankfully, though, that level went really well. That level is one of the coolest levels in ILs because you actually do a lot of bouncing off of enemies and items. It's one of the hardest levels to do successful ILs, though. There's actually some RTA viable strats that involve bouncing off of the bolt berries, and it looks really insane when you pull it off. Anyways, now it's time for Flipsville 1, which is easily one of the biggest fan favorite levels of the entire run. There's two really big skips back-to-back that combine to look really cool, because they're both gravity exploits. And this entire galaxy as a whole is just really interesting. So first I have to wait for this guy to move out of the way. And then I can backflip and wall jump onto this wall to get to the comet metal a little bit quicker. And now once I reach the comet metal platform, I can just long jump right off to the right here. And because this game is very well programmed, I get caught up in the gravity of this planet. And by doing that, I actually unloaded a death plane. So now I can do this skip. I'm going to gain some momentum from this roof here, from that sloped roof, and then use that momentum to go all the way to the gravity field of this boss planet, which skips basically the entire level. You can also use it to go to the starship there if you want to play it safe. So yeah, skips like that I think make this game far more entertaining than Galaxy 1. Galaxy 1 has a lot of gravity exploits, but none that are as, like, really insane looking as that. Alright, so Glamdozer here, the entire boss's body is vulnerable, so I just wait for it to become vulnerable, and then ground pound as soon as possible. You can also have fun with those grates there. Pretty simple boss. Now, unfortunately, the other two Flipsville stars aren't nearly as flashy, but they're still really technical stars, and they do take a lot of time to get down. I'm going to be kind of going back and forth between Flipsville and Sweet Mystery for the first few stars of World 4 in order to properly clear out those galaxies. Because one thing about comets is, in order to unlock a comet, you need to have collected all the non-secret stars of that galaxy. So for Sweet Mystery, that was just Sweet Mystery 1. And for Flipsville, that's Flipsville 1 and 2. And you also have to have at least one star in between the last main star collected and the comet being spawned. So right here, Flipsville 1 and 2 are the buffer stars for Sweet Mystery Comet, and Sweet Mystery Comet is going to be the buffer star for Flipsville Comet. Which is just, it's kind of neat how all that routing works out. Flipsville 2 is another somewhat cycle-based star, but for this first planet we do a couple of skips. We skip the spin drill, and kind of long jump around this wall here and get to this launch star. That's a slightly safer way of doing it. And here, again, because Mario can wall jump, we can just skip the spin drill on this planet. Alright, I have a very tight cycle to make here. I'm going to try to grab the spin drill as quickly as possible. Alright, we made it. That first room is the hardest part of this entire area, so once you get out of there, it's usually smooth sailing. So this is kind of like half auto-scroller, half cycle-based. I do have to wait around a lot, but I also have to make some specific gravity cycles. Another thing is that the spin drill's hitbox, you're about to see, kinda. Okay, maybe not there. The spin drill's hitbox when you're drilling actually is really big, and so it's actually possible for Mario to collect coins from a pretty big distance when you're drilling. Okay, I have to wait here. Sometimes when you drill right there, you can actually just go right into the star without having to land, and I'm not entirely sure why. I'm not entirely sure how you do it consistently. But it's a thing. Next up is Sweet Mysteries Comet. This is one of those stars that's kind of a devil in disguise. This star is really, really bad. Because like it's very straightforward, it's simple, and you don't even have to do any infinite flutters, but it's just really bad. So this is a purple coin comet. You just collect 100 purple coins, you go throughout the stage, you use the bull fairy. The thing is, however, Yoshi walks really, really fast. So you want to stay on the ground as much as possible. However, walking as fast as possible and also collecting all the purple coins without missing any or losing any time is really, really hard. So you're very likely going to be seeing me miss a ton of purple. You're probably going to see me miss at least one yeah, like that. You're probably going to see me miss at least one purple coin and then have to backtrack for it. Also, whenever I jump, because Yoshi is actually slower in midair, I do like a short flutter, so I double tap the A button, and that just kind of keeps him out of the air for as long as I possibly can. Yeah, I have to do all this back and forth movement, and it's kind of tricky. Also, Yoshi's just able to walk across thin air. Okay. I said you don't have to infinite flutter, but if that happens, then yeah, you do. Very rarely does that happen, though. Okay, so that was really, really bad. Optimally, you're done with this star in way before the song gets a chance to loop, and it looped, so that was pretty annoying. I probably lost a good, like, maybe 5 to 8 seconds on that star, just from bad movement. But again, that's just the thing with that star. It's super easy to lose time. Yeah, optimally you can do the level in under 110, and I got a 113 in game time. But we're not out of the woods yet, because this star is even harder. Because it's even more cycle-based, and also relies on motion controls and the spin drill's hitbox. So I'm actually going to be attempting a fairly new route that was discovered by How To Cantaloupe. That's around 4 seconds faster than the older route, but it's a lot tighter and also involves 2 side flips in 2D, and side flipping in this game is impossible. So if I mess up this route, I could potentially lose around 20 seconds, but hopefully I don't. So I'm going to try to focus for the first like half of this star here. So I'm going to be a little bit quiet. I have to be really faster because that cycle's really tight. Alright, coming up is the hardest part of the entire star. This side flip is really, really annoying. But I got it. Let's go. If you mess up that side flip, then you basically just lose it. You just lose all the time possible. Okay, I'm going to kill this Fuzzy so he doesn't get in my way later. The cycle just happened to work out that way. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get that coin earlier, so I lost a little bit of time because I had to get it. But, I probably could have just used the spin drill's hitbox to get it, but all is well that ends well. I just got to show off the route, and up until that point, it was executed perfectly. It's really, really hard to make all those cycles. And I think that's actually the first time I've ever done it in a marathon setting. So yeah, I unfortunately didn't save time over the old route. but I didn't lose time in my PB or anything. I just don't think I did. But now I'm done with Sweet Mystery and Flipsville for the remainder of the run, and we're going to move on to bigger and better things, and I mean that in a literal sense, because this galaxy is kind of like the giant world from Super Mario Bros. 3 or Tiny Huge Island from Super Mario 64, in which everything is just big. I'm going to be turning the camera at the start here to manipulate the cycle of this pipe and the swamps up ahead, just to make things faster. So right now, so while the camera was turned there, the pipe was not moving. And that's a good thing because it's going to be in perfect position for me to do this. So again, I'm going to use the upwards momentum of that pipe to give me a boosted long jump and clear that gap. It saves the equivalent of one long cycle. And it looks pretty decent. It's not terribly hard either. Okay, so now we got these Koopas. Once you get the spin, drill, and drill, and you get the first one, you can just take out all three without even having to move. On this next planet, on these next set of platforms, I'm going to be once again turning the camera to manipulate the yellow platforms up ahead. And hopefully I can get one to spawn right underneath me here, right as I'm about to follow through it. Okay, that's fine. Not a big deal if you don't get that, because it's really easy to mess that up. We're just gonna go to this planet and get the first star. We actually used to get 2 stars in this level, but thanks to a skip that was found in a later level in World 5, we were able to cut out the secret star here. Which is nice, because this level is really annoying to do. It's fine one time, but having to do it twice is a little too much. Thankfully, though, it went really well. That's one place where I do a mental check on how many comet medals I have, and I've collected every comet medal so far. Otherwise, this comet wouldn't spawn, because this requires 20 comet medals, and I have 20 comet medals. Okay, here we go. It's time for Chompworks Galaxy, which is, in a way, one of the more boring galaxies of the run. But just like a lot of galaxies that seem like that way, there is a lot that goes into these stars. Most of these are cycle-based. This and the Comet are full of a couple auto-scrollers. There's a couple things you can do to make this star technical and fast. So on this first planet, I'm going to do a trick where I run up the very edge of that slope, which for some reason causes Mario to not get affected by the slope's physics. So I can just kind of get up here a little bit quicker. And then I can go over, I can hit that lever, get this comet medal, jump over here. I'm going to stun this Octuma with Starbit so that it stays over here, and that when it dies, its coin is in a position that won't, if that Octuma had died closer to the launch star, I would have grabbed the coin during the launch star blast off. I was supposed to long jump into the launch star, by the way, because if you do that, then you don't get a landing animation on that second planet. Here's a strat that was found by, I believe it was Patau, where I'm going to barely touch the left edge of that seesaw, and in doing that in just the right way allows it to lower just enough so that that chain chomp can get on. Otherwise, it would have to break on that ramp, and you would have to wait for another one to spawn. We didn't used to think that was possible, but a few years ago, Patau discovered that. I think it was Patau. Patau used to be an old world record contender before competition kind of started dying down once the time really started getting improved. Unfortunately, this chomp you cannot save. If you have a second player, though, you can actually stop the chomp in place with the second player and just get into position before the chomp has a chance to break. And it does save a few seconds, but again, since I'm not using Chupi, I don't get to do that. So yeah, this planet's basically an auto-scroller. Not a whole lot you can do to speed this up. I'm just going to kind of do some cool backflips on this button here. You really don't want to chop the brick in the star, as you probably guessed. Alright, overall that went well. Okay, so now that that boring star is over with, it's time for Chompworks 2. So this is where I'm going to give a not shout out to the Spring Mushroom from Galaxy 1, because it makes a comeback for this star, and this star only. Thankfully, though, it's not as bad here as it is in Galaxy 1, and you can actually skip it for most of the star. Because, again, this game was very well thought out and designed. So Chompworks 2, again, because of good video game design and Mario can jump and whatnot, I can actually skip the Spring Mushroom on the first 2 planets. But the very important thing to keep in mind here is the last planet has a platform cycle, and if the thing about this is, again, platforms normally don't move unless they're on camera, but the platform is on camera from this first planet. So I didn't get the jump cancel, which means that now I need to have really, really good movement if I want to have a chance of making the cycle, and I already screwed it up. So, yeah, there's no chance I'm going to make the cycle now. It saves like 5 seconds if you can make the fast cycle, and I probably just missed out a second by doing that. And by the way, you can't normally go into first person mode right there, but you can do it if you do it on the first frame of landing. I'm using the nunchuck when I'm doing these wall jump spins because it allows Mario to spin earlier. Also, shout out to Pac-Man. Steal a few of his star bits. So for this third planet, you can also skip the Spring Mushroom here, but it's much, much faster to take it, and it's also a lot easier. And since it's in 2D, it's not too hard to control. Please? Okay. So I just missed a cycle there because my performance on the star was not great. It is still pretty awkward to control, though. But it's not too bad. Okay, so that wasn't that great. Again, we're going to go down to the engine room to gloat about getting Spring Mario, even though we never get to use it. So we're going to head off to Starshine Beach Galaxy next, and this galaxy pays a huge homage to Super Mario Sunshine. Because obviously it's a beach level, but there's a lot of Piantas. There's going to be Chucksters in the next star. And also, this game is basically an apology to Yoshi. This level is an apology to Yoshi for how he was in Super Mario Sunshine, because in Super Mario Sunshine, if Yoshi touched water, he would just dissolve. But in this game, he can walk on shallow water, he can kind of swim on the surface of water, and he can even run on deep water if he has the dash pepper. And this is probably the only, open world galaxy in the entire game. And since the silver stars are really spread out on this first mission, it's actually pretty neat, the movement and strats that are required to get from one to the other. So right off the bat here, I'm going to get Yoshi, I'm going to eat this crabber, and then I'm going to do a upwards infinite flare to get up here. I'm going to walk right next to this glass and fire the crabber and break the glass. And I'm going to do a somewhat finicky infinite flutter to this tower over here. The camera makes it kind of difficult to judge where you are in relation to the tower, so this flutter is very tricky, but thankfully it caused me no problems. I'm going to flutter over to this pepper over here. Get this silver star. I'm going to grab this dash pepper, I'm going to get this one. I'm going to try to do another cool dismount to get the last silver star. This one is a little bit more tricky, though. Okay, yeah, I was very off there. So yeah, by doing another one of those dash pepper Yoshi on slope dismounts, you can just fly right into that last silver star, but it's pretty precise, and you don't have a whole lot of time to set it up. just going to kind of go out of my way here to get the Comet Medal, because the Comet in this galaxy is really, really fast, so it's definitely worth getting. We got here, and I'm going to get on Yoshi, and once again, I'm just going to infinite throw straight to the star, because... So that's actually something I was planning on talking about anyways. So there's a weird thing about Yoshi in this game, where if Yoshi's flutter gets canceled, not by you canceling the flutter early by just letting go of A, but by landing on the ground, then the next time you try to start a flutter, it's actually delayed. So typically what you would do to solve that is what I tried to do there, where I just do a double tap to start a short flutter to reset the flutter, and then do another one. And it really only applies to the flutter if you start it with a shake. I haven't talked about this yet, but I shake when I start most flutters to give Yoshi just a little bit of extra speed, of a speed boost. Alright, now it's time for Starshine Beach 2, which is casually a pretty roundabout star. You have to go underwater, go through this tower, hit a switch to make a cloud flower appear, then grab it, and then ride a leaf all the way over to the tower, and then use the clouds to get back up. And that's all slow and boring, so we're going to skip all of that, because luckily our good friend Chuckster is right next to the tower, and he can actually throw us and give us just enough height to spin onto the highest cloud, and then jump off the cloud before it has a chance to disappear, and then use that to get on top of the tower. This isn't terribly difficult, but it might take me a couple tries. I'm also going to be turning the camera here to manipulate the timing of the cycles of the head, and then try it one more time just for safety. Should be good to go right around now. I'm going to wait a little bit before spinning, land on this top cloud, jump, and then get on top of this tree, and... oh. No idea what that was. That was interesting. That's never happened before. Classic marathon walk, am I right? So yeah, jumping off a cloud if you don't have B or Cloud Mario is a 10... I don't remember if it's 6 or 10 frame. I think it's 6 frames, which is around 1/10 of a second. But it's extremely lenient. It's really easy to do that skip. Anyways, it's now time for Chompworks Comet, which is another Devil in Disguise sort of star, and also basically an auto-scroller. So this is basically the last planet of Star in 1, but with Cosmic Clones. And since backtracking is really difficult with Cosmic Clones, you basically just don't want to screw the star up at all, or else you're screwed. However, this is a star that if you want to grind ILs, this is a star you can get a free world record on, and you can tie it with like 8 people or something. So by breaking this chomp and having the Cosmic Clone spawn at the same time, the next chomp will appear a little bit sooner. I'm going to try to get this popping quickly, and here we go. So most of the stars just kind of trying to make sure you always stay ahead of the Cosmic Clone so that they don't run into you. So this is why right here I'm going to start crawling, just to kind of keep the Cosmic Clones all bunched up over here, and so they're not running all over the place. There you go. That was really good. So this isn't going to get the frame perfect time of 51.20 seconds in game time, but it's probably going to get something relatively close. Like, at the very worst, I'll probably get, like, within a second. So I'll get, like, a low 52. 51.96, that's okay. Okay, now it's time for Bowser's Gravity Gauntlet. Finally, we're moving on to the boss world of World 5. I mean, World 4. This is World 4. My bad. So Bowser's Gravity Gauntlet is a rather interesting level because I'm going to be doing both the normal star and the comet, and both stars I'm going to be doing a different skip that allows me to skip a good portion of the level. So the skip I'm going to do here is called Behind the Castle. And how it works is basically this castle in this little 2D section over here, you can go behind it by jumping on the pillar in a specific way, and there's lava rendered behind it, so you can bounce on the lava and enter the last 2D section's gravity field. It's really precise though, because you have to be a certain distance away from the castle, and I also need this extra, I need that life shroom to get enough health, to have enough health. You need at least 5 HP in order to do this. So I'm going to head over here to get the checkpoint in the comet medal, and now I have to go on this item block, I'm going to try to get on top of the pillar, and here goes nothing. So I'm going to do a very specific setup to make sure I'm the precise distance away from the castle I need. So I'm going to start as close to the castle as possible. Once the camera turns, I hold up right for around the length it takes Mario to cross the length of one floor tile, and there you go. So that gets me the precise distance away from the castle that I need. And the reason why I have to do that is if you're too close to the castle, then Mario gets stuck in this weird like limbo field, and he just kind of remains there until he dies. And if you're too far away, he'll just fall off the edge and die, and dying there loses a very big amount of time. But thankfully I got the skip. It really is not that difficult, but it can trip you up. Just gotta take care of these blocks. Now we're going to move on to the second Bowser fight. So this Bowser fight changes things up pretty drastically over the first Bowser fight in Lava Lair. So now Bowser's fists, when he slams them into the ground, they're going to have shockwaves coming off of them, and so will the meteors. In addition to that, Bowser is going to pull out his fists just slightly quicker on this fight. And also, for this fight only, he's going to drop 2 meteors instead of 3. So the stakes of potentially accidentally missing a hit or having Bowser punch both meteors out are going to be a lot greater in this fight. I'm also going to be going for something called a punch cancel on this first hit. Once Bowser drops the meteors, I'm actually going to wait for him to start charging up a punch. And then once he's about to start charging up the punch, I'm going to hit him with the meteor. That might have been too early. Yeah, that was too early. So had I done that a little bit later, he would skip this punch attack. And it would have saved me a few seconds. Again, a missed hit on any Bowser fight loses around 20 seconds. So this second phase is pretty much similar to the last phase, except with the 2 meteors and the shockwaves that I have to dodge. Right, Bowser's, I think, in an okay position. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Really, the only risk is if he punches out both meteors, and that's a really big problem. Okay, these 2 meteors are too far away for Bowser to hit them with both punch. With one punch, I'm pretty sure. So I think I'm safe here. Aside from the missed punch cancel, that was a pretty good gravity gauntlet overall. I'm still on pretty solid pace overall for a reset list. Also, since when does Bowser have a master plan? Let's just think about that for a second. And this will mark the end of the World 4 segment. So right now, I'd say I'm around 50 seconds behind my PB. Don't get excited. This run really doesn't have that much of a chance of PBing because it's just a random reset list, but we'll find out. We gotta watch this cutscene 2 more times in total, including this one. So I hope you enjoy it. Also, nice 69 coins. So up next is World 5, but before we actually do anything in World 5, I'm actually going to backtrack once again to Worlds 2 and 1 to get a few stars that I didn't get earlier. One of the stars that I'm going to get required a Mailtoad letter that I had to get a star from Chompworks in order to unlock. And another one was a comet that doesn't spawn until you have 20 comet medals. And the other two are just comets that I just happened to save for that point. So I'm going to use the Grand World Map to go from World 5 to World 2. Kind of overshot World 2 there. My nunchuck is a little weird. It tends to have a bit of a bias on the left notch. So that's kind of why I went past it there. So here's Hightail False Comet. Again, I could have done the star earlier, but I just... routing, it's better to save it for later. And this star is basically just Hightail Falls 1, but you're on a timer, and Nintendo gives you way too much time to do these missions. Also, there are meteors falling, which for the most part aren't a huge threat, and there's holes in the ground, which for the most part aren't a huge threat. And the ending of the star is going to be slightly different because I don't need the comet medal since this is the comet. And so I'm going to be doing a slightly different strat from the end of the star. Also, these pink things are smeeches. They kind of latch onto you, and they prevent you from eating anything else until you shake them off and kill them. Once again, I'm trying to maximize the amount of use I can get from these dash peppers. So I'm going to go up this left path here because this dash pepper's right here. Again, if you bonk there, you fall all the way down, and you have to re-climb up there. Also, because this is a comet, there's no checkpoints, so if I die, I have to redo the entire level. So we're trying to take a little safe here, trying to take this straight up the path as possible. So I'm actually going to take the launch star this time, and I'm going to do what's called the leap of faith, or what I like to call the leap of faith. So let's see if my faith is strong enough. Alright, it was strong enough. So for whatever reason, if you jump at the very edge of that wall, then you actually gain a really big boost in height. And you can use that to clear up that entire distance and make it all the way up there. Around 5 seconds faster than what I did on Hightail Falls 1. I accidentally grabbed a star bit at the last second, so you see that was the star bit text box that I've been avoiding this entire run. Alright, I'm going to need some bless RNGs in the chat for this next star, because this is a pretty much a completely random star. I have to kill 30 crappers using Rock Mario, and their movement is pretty much RNG. And I have to kill them within a minute time limit, otherwise I have to redo the entire star. So let's hope this goes well. One thing that the game never tells you about, but it is a mechanic, and I don't even know if it's intended or not, is you can actually jump out of Rock Mario form early. And you're going to be seeing me do that a few times throughout this star. And to do that, it's basically just the same inputs as the ground pound. It's A and Z. I haven't had to do it yet, but I'll probably have to do it eventually. Alright, these blue crabbers are really annoying because they kind of move a lot more erratically. So my goal is to get around 24 or 25 of these things, and then after that I'm going to try to focus on the individual ones. But right now, this blue crabber over here is not being very cooperative. Alright, I'm probably just going to... There's 2 blue crabbers left, so that's making me a little bit nervous. I got 1, and I got 2. Where's the last one? Come on. Alright, that wasn't too great, because the timer started reaching the warning countdown, which is when you have 10 seconds left. Optimally, you can do that with over 20 seconds to spare. So that wasn't too great, but at least I did it on the first try. Again, if I had let the time run out, I would have had to redo it. There's another. So these were actually Rosalina Starbit letters. So You get 150 of the star bits needed for the run from 3 of those mail-tail letters because they give 50 each. And 50 times 3 is 150, so it'll end up adding out in the end. So I'm going to re-enter Boulderable 1 so I can do its letter star, which I got a while back. And this is where you're going to get to see Boulderable 1 skip without Rock Mario, which is way, way easier aside from this first jump being a little tricky. But it's super easy. You don't even have to set it up. You just go on the ramp, long jump to the left, and you'll enter the gravity field just like that. So now, here's a Goomba. This Goomba is super annoying. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to lure it to this Gearmo over here. And hopefully it doesn't decide to just randomly stop in the middle of the road, or in the middle of that dirt path, because then it could get run over by one of those boulders. Okay. So the game can just randomly soft lock there for absolutely no reason other than it wants to. But since this game autosaves, soft locks and game overs and potential game crashes aren't a huge issue, since I can just reload my save file. Obviously it would be an inconvenient time loss, but... So we have to save a creature there. You only get 2 Goombas for that star, and if both of them die, you have to redo the mission. Because there's just simply no other way to do that. That Guillermo only wants Goombas. Okay. So we were saving creatures for a little while, but now we get to go right back to killing them, thankfully. And in doing so, we're going to visit an old friend again. We're going to visit our friend Gobblegut again. So this comet is the Gobblegut fight with a 2-minute time limit. Again, Nintendo gives you way too much time. The strats I'm going to go for here are the exact same as the strats on the first fight. And I executed the first fight perfectly, so if there's ever going to be a chance of me to mess up the fight, it will probably be this attempt. Hopefully I won't. But provided this goes perfectly, this fight should go the exact same way as last time. So I'm going to try to focus here for a little bit, because again, it just is rather difficult. Almost missed that second hit. Alright, this second phase is the harder of the 2 phases, for me at least. You need to turn around at a very specific time there so that Gobblegut doesn't trail you super closely. Okay, I don't know what exactly happened there, but I kind of messed up the timing for that. I brushed up against Gobblegut for a little too long, so I just had to wait for him to bury his face into the planet. So that's a really good instance of I messed up something, but I was able to back it up really quickly. Sometimes it just tumbles into massive time loss, and it's really sad when it happens. Yeah, that final hit is really tricky, because sometimes you have to kind of brush up against the Gobblegut's head, and if you don't do it properly, then sometimes, like what happened there, you take too long to fall to the ground, or sometimes Gobblegut will actually hit you, and that just makes it even harder. And I only lost 9 seconds to an optimal run for that, so that was still really good. I didn't lose too much time with that. Alright, so now we're done with World 1 and 2 for the rest of the run, and it's time for World 5. So I'm actually not going to be collecting too many stars from World 5, but the ones that I am going to collect have some rather interesting strats and whatnot. Starting with Space Storm 1. So this is one of 10 stars you're actually required to get in order to progress in the game. There's just no way around it. Oh, somehow I did not grab that full star right away. Sensor bar, am I right? This planet is really tricky to do optimally. A lot of cycles I have to make. Some platform momentum abuse here, hopefully. Okay, I barely did not die from that laser. Okay. Please. Okay. This is a rather bad situation to be in. I'm just gonna play it safe here. won't have access to a coin until the next section. So even though the star is called Follow Me Bob-omb, this is the only place in the entire star where you need a Bob-omb to follow you. Unfortunately, that's another plan. It wasn't terribly well executed, but it's fine. As long as I don't die, I'm okay with how I go. Alright, so now we get to do more pole stars, and abusing the pole stars momentum properly is rather difficult. Also, I'm at 1 HP here, so unless I get a coin really quickly, I'm very likely going to die until I dead. It's very easy to get hit by something in this section. Alright, I basically have to intentionally run into that laser, because it does kind of suspend you in midair for a little bit and makes grabbing that star a lot easier. And you're able to grab a pole star while you're suspended in midair. Yeah, using the momentum of those pole stars properly is really hard. You have to grab them and let go of them at precise times. Now we have access to all of World 5 because Nintendo was lazy here. But before we do that, we're going to do Space Storm 2, which is another really, really fast star if done properly. This is actually kind of a tribute to Buoy-based Galaxy from the original Super Mario Galaxy, and even has the Buoy-based music, which is a very nice tribute, and it's easily one of the best songs in the game. This is another kind of cycle-based star, and also, you're supposed to hit all those switches that slow down time, because obviously everything in this level moves really fast. But if I do this right, then I won't have to hit any of them, and it'll look really awesome. Okay, I've already screwed this up. So I'm probably not going to make the fast cycle now, but I'm going to try my best to see what I can pull off here. So I'm going to skip the entire first chunk of this level by just jumping on this wall over here, and then long jumping over here. I'm going to jump on top of the swamp here and use its upward momentum to try and land on this platform. Okay, the cycle did not work out in my favor, so I'm just going to go over here and do this. And then I'm going to use a triple jump here to... Oh, not a triple jump, I'm going to use a backflip from this banister and skip that pump and fight. That's another really difficult star to execute properly, so I'm not surprised that it went that way. But I only lost 10 seconds to when Optimal Space Storm 2, so that wasn't that great. It was pretty slow. And I'm probably going to... I'm partly going to bring my cursor for that, because my sensor bar wasn't exactly responding well at the start of either of those two stars. Thankfully, though, we're done with pole stars for the time being, so I can breathe a sigh of relief now. So next we're going to head on to Shiverburn. So if you missed your opportunity to guess on the skating minigame in Shiverburn and Freezy Flake, you can do so here. Except this time, it's still in multiples of 10, but this time the range is 600 to 900. It's a bit of a smaller range, because the high score where you're required to beat is 600 instead of 500. So I'm going to use Cloud Mario here to kind of skip over this C here. Like that. So this skating minigame is, other than the higher score, it's basically the exact same as the first one, including the fact that the patterns are the same. They can just be rotated in 1 of 4 different ways. Alright, and I happened to guess the right way this time. Mistakes are a lot harder to overcome in this star, though, because, again, since you need a higher score and you don't have that much time, running into one of those spiky gummits can really cost you. But so far, this is looking really good. Yeah, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to try to go for an 800 score. Nice, 810. So, like, once again, no one wins, because no one guessed, but it was still a really good score. So So that's the second to last chimp challenge we'll be doing. There's one more, but it's not going to be a skating minigame. Just for the record, if you do fail a chimp challenge, you do have to redo it, but there's challenges in this game are weird. Sometimes if you fail a challenge, the game kills you. Other times it doesn't. Those don't. Alright, now it's time for SuperViperT 1, which is another pretty neat star from beginning to end. I'm going to go for a cool gravity skip here that was discovered by Wolf31. I'm going to activate this elevator so that it's in the proper position for me to long jump off of it when I grab the cloud power. And I'm going to long jump off of it over to this here. And I need to make these clouds at very precise times. And I'm going to try to enter the gravity field at the bottom half of this planet, which skips me from the beginning of the first planet to the end of the second planet. And saves a good deal of time. I'll grab the comm metal, and I'm going to jump into the lava to ditch Cloud Mario. So, okay, I'll explain it after this star. So now I'm going to turn the camera there to manipulate the timing of these ice platforms. And I'm going to skip killing all those enemies by just lava boosting past them. You're supposed to kill all those enemies by firing coconuts back at them, and that makes the bridge appear. Anyway, now it's time for, I already forgot this guy's name. So this boss, I'm going to skip this first coconut on purpose, and I'm going to attack the second one really late. And what this is going to do is it's going to set him up so that he's never on this side of the battlefield during the second or third hits. And what this will mean is, if he's on that side of the battlefield, then he'll do this like upward firing attack that can be used to speed up the fight, and it is a few seconds faster than what I'm doing here, but it's really RNG dependent, and this method requires no RNG and it's only a few seconds slower. And done. So that star went well. I didn't really make any major mistakes. Actually, I'll go ahead and explain what I wanted to explain now. So when you have Cloud Mario and you're long jumping from the center of a cloud over an abyss, you'll gain a lot of speed, because I guess you're a lot floatier. That's what I used for the Skip and Fluffy Bluff 1. That's what I use there. I'm also going to use it later on. And it helps for crossing that big gap. Although it does command fairly strict timing. Okay, so here's Upside Dizzy. This is kind of the sequel level to Right Side Down from way earlier. It's once again a gravity-based level, and it's way, way more technical than Right Side Down 1. This first star is not only extremely cycle-based, but incredibly movement-intensive. It takes a really long time to get the movement from this star down, and even still, it's really, really difficult, so I'm going to try my best here. This first part is probably the hardest part. Okay, I messed up that backflip. I was going to backflip, bounce off that Goomba, and then get in here, but unfortunately, I was not able to. I'm going to grab some star bits to make the second section of this level a little bit easier. So by long jumping into that one gravity field, I'm able to get a lot of upwards momentum when I do that. Okay, do a little cool Goomba bounce to get inside that pipe. So this is a really, really cycle-based hallway, and also probably the most awkward hallway in the existence of video games. Alright, I got that. I don't normally get that. I meant to long jump there, but it didn't make my Z input. Hello. So because I got something that's optimal that I'm not used to, I actually screwed that hallway up kind of badly. So that wasn't a great upside Dizzy one, but that star, again, is super difficult, so it's really not a surprise. Yeah, I lost around 15 seconds maybe. Next I'm going to do Upside Dizzy Secret Star, which just like Right Side Down is another box minigame. This one, I'm going to go for a rather tricky Goomba bounce into the pipe. And it's pretty difficult, so chances are I'm not going to get it, but I'm going to try and show it off. Okay, I didn't get it. I got caught on that wall there. Again, that first backflip is probably the hardest part. There we go. Back that up pretty nicely, though. That pipe is really hard to enter sometimes. So this box minigame is actually quite a bit easier, at least in my opinion, than the first one, because although you have more boxes to break, they're kind of more scrunched up together, and there's less awkward angles you have to throw it at. I'm going to be aiming for a 9 on the timer when I end, but I'm likely going to get an 8. Alright, I'm not going to get those two later. Okay, that wasn't too great. Again, the worst thing you can do is fail the mission, so overall not too bad. Not a great Upside Dizzy, at least by my standards, but again, hard Galaxy, it's really, really difficult, and my controller is kind of messed up, so I partly blame it on that, but yeah, not a whole lot else I can say. But now we're done with that Galaxy, so we're thankfully out of there. And this is also going to be the last time we're taken down to the engine room for the run. So we can say goodbye to there. Okay, now it's time for Boom Moon Galaxy, yet another spoopy level. It is fitting, because, you know, it's Resort Fest Fall Fright, and it's October. So it kind of fits the mood of the season pretty well, if you ask me. Sadly, though, this level is a bunch of snake block auto-scrollers. Mainly this first star. I'm going to be doing 2 stars here, and Boom Moon's Secret Star is... I'm going to do Secret first, and it's basically just a bunch of auto-scrollers. For this first planet, it's only faster to long jump at the beginning and end of the planet due to the way the curvature is. I'm going to try another frame perfect camera cancel here. Got it. Again, frame perfect in 60 frames per second. So thankfully, although there's a bunch of auto scrollers, you can cut out parts of them by long jumping and whatnot. I just kind of have to wait here for a little while. Dying here is really bad. These Octoboos are also really annoying. And so there's a ton of metal on the way, so we're going to grab it. And we're going to long jump right past this launch star and go to this other set of snake blocks. And then do a skip here. And easy start. Yeah, well that skip's pretty simple. You're supposed to ride those snake blocks, but you can just long jump straight to the star. It actually makes that section easier because those Octoboos are super annoying to deal with. And the snake block moves really fast and it's hard to keep up with it. So I would highly recommend doing that skip when starting out. Even if you're just playing through the game casually, just do that. It's so much easier. And now we're going to do Boom Moon 1. This star didn't actually used to be in any percent. Although it is a relatively fast star, it wasn't fast enough to be in any percent until Nemi43, who is probably the best player of this game ever. He's held world record extensively several times. And he's just an IL god. And he's also helped with finding a lot of strats. Found a skip on this star that saves a good amount of time and makes this star faster than Supermassive Secret for any percent. It's kind of tricky, but it shouldn't be too bad. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to long jump to this set of snake blocks. I'm going to activate this. I'm going to backtrack to this set of snake blocks. I'm going to wait for a proper visual cue. I'm going to jump backwards onto these snake blocks because gravity, long jump off, spin, and then enter the launch star. That just skips the rest of the snake blocks. I didn't do that on Boom and Secret because I have to take the snake blocks. Whereas on this star, I just need to get to the launch star. So that skip probably saves around 10 to 12 seconds. And in addition to just looking really awesome, it also makes the star viable for any percent. And even if you're just starting out learning any percent and don't want to learn the skip, I would recommend doing the star anyways because it's very simple. And it's much easier to do off the way. That was a very good Boom Boom one. Alright, just 1 star remains until we get to move on to the World 5 boss stage. So this is the reason why the star wasn't originally 90% because of that male toad letter. But even so, it's not too big of an issue. So the last star is going to be Shiverburn's Comet, which is yet another rainbow romp star similar to Yoshi's Star Comet. This time we're going to be taking out 30 Octoombas. And you might be wondering, so this is on ice, so you might be wondering if it's faster to run or skate, and the answer is neither. They're both equally about as fast. However, it's easier to turn while running. So what I'm going to do is once I get the rainbow star, I'm just going to skate to build up some momentum, and then I'm just going to jump out of it and just start running. I'm going to try to get all these Octoombas on 1 rainbow star, but if I have to go out of my way to get another one, it's not a huge deal. It's not going to waste too much time. And you have a couple seconds of leniency. Like, as you saw there, I had to swerve back around to get an Octoomba, and I still made it. All that's left to do in World 5 is the boss stage. So Bowser Jr.'s Boom Bunker is coming up next, and this galaxy is kind of irritating because you might have noticed that throughout this entire run I haven't had to do any motion control levels, so no Blizzard levels or ball rolling levels. Everything's just been sheer just platforming and skill and whatnot. This is a level where motion controls are kind of a factor, because I'm going to have to be aiming cannons. And aiming cannons is kind of a hard thing in the Galaxy games to begin with, because you have to use the Wii remote pointer to do it. In addition to that, the 2 cannon shots have very small targets to aim at in this level, and if I miss either of them, I die. So we're going to hope I don't die to either of them. So first I'm going to lure a Bull Bill out of this cannon here to break this glass and make this cannon available. And hopefully it didn't break on the way here. Alright, then. So I'm going to aim this first cannon shot at this Boomerang Girl's face. Played a little bit safe there. That's probably good. And I'm going to bounce off this hammer. So I long jumped and bounced off that boomerang, which caused Mario's long jump to enter a state where he could actually ground pound without having to spin. That's what I used there. For this cannon shot, I'm going to aim at this cloud and wait for a platform to move out from underneath it. That might be bad. Oh, whoa. Okay, that was really crazy. I'm just going to long jump all the way over to this common metal because physics. And I try to go for a frame perfect ground pound here. Nice. It's even harder to do a frame perfect ground pound as Cloud Mario because if you miss it, then you make a cloud, so it wastes even more time. Sometimes you can get a homing ground pound as Cloud Mario, and I'm not entirely sure why, because that shouldn't be possible. Here's Boomsday. This boss can either make you or itself a complete joke. It has killed me in front of 20,000 people before, so let's hope that doesn't kill me here. Frame perfect ground pound number 2. So for here, you just gotta use these clouds to climb up to his head and then ground pound. Oh, got an accidental frame perfect ground pound there. Okay, surprised I didn't get hurt there. Those electric balls can hurt you, and that causes you to lose cloud form, so you have to regain it. The second phase is really annoying. Pretty decent pace. Yeah. Alright, so that's kind of sort of 5/6 of the game done. All they have left is World 6, and this is without a doubt the longest world in the run. So we're collecting 15 of the remaining 15 stars are all in the World 6 segments. It's around 40 minutes, give or take. So we're coming up on the edge here, kind of, but it's still going to be a while. And this is also a really, really difficult segment. This is where you start to get really nervous if you're on good pace. And the stakes are really high at this point. And it's very easy to make big mistakes that kill your run really late into it. Okay, so starting off, we're going to go to Melting Monster, which is the only 3-star galaxy that we're actually going to be collecting all 3 stars from in one go. Without having to backtrack to it or anything. And Melting Monster 1 is a terrible star. Just putting it bluntly. This is a very, very difficult star to execute perfectly. Those tornadoes are on global cycles from the moment I enter the level. So I have to play really well for this pole star section, and then I have to play really well on the next planet. There's a lot of really tricky jumps. You have to use that momentum of that pole star to kind of fling yourself into that launch star. It's kind of annoying. Alright, here's where the fun really begins. So there's a lot of really small platforming bits I'm doing here. So I'm going to long jump into this live stream and then use lava boost and skip past these poles. I'm going to skip a bunch of platforms, keep jumping. Alright, I think I should be good for the tornado cycle, maybe? Alright, I'm going to see if I can make this. Okay, I can do that. So I still made the tornado cycle. But now I have to not die here because I haven't gotten any checkpoints since the one at the start of that planet. So if I die here, I would go all the way back there and lose a really big amount of time. There's a little long jump that you can do to skip the first few planets. Rather tricky, but the practice is doable. This comet metal over here. This magma to get out of the way. Back up over here, hopefully. Gravity is really weird here. As each of these small planets kind of have their own field of gravity, and so it gets really tricky to navigate these planets. That wasn't too great, but at least the first few parts of this level made up for it. At least I didn't die. That's important. So optimally, you can do this level in like under a minute 30. So I lost like 10 seconds there. It's not too bad. So that little room there has those Lumas that you can beat star bits to. I think it's either star bits or coins, I don't exactly remember. And you can get some star bits or some lives from there, but I don't have to worry too much about either of those. I haven't died so far, so my life stock is pretty high, so I won't have to worry about game overing. And even if I did, again, because the game auto-saves, it doesn't really matter. So we're going to do the third and final chimp challenge of the run for this star. This is a bowling minigame. I'm not going to have a competition for score guessing because the range of scores you can guess here is much smaller. You only really have like 4 options. So you use, by bowling I mean you're using Rock Mario, just for the record. So you need to get 50 of these pins, and there's only 56 of them, and I'm going to be skipping 3 of them intentionally, just to speed things up, so I have to be really precise here. There actually is a strat you can go for on this star that I'm not even going to bother attempting, because it's really difficult, doesn't take that much time, and if you screw it up, you die. Where if you do a spin jump onto those ramps, you can actually cancel the ramp effect entirely, and then jump at the very, very edge of the ramp, and land on the next platform, and you'll actually continue rolling. And without stopping, and you can use that to kind of just keep rolling and rolling and rolling along. And it does save a tremendous amount of time, but again, it's super difficult, and if you miss it, you die, so it's definitely not marathon skill. In addition, you can also do what's known as a mid-air rock jump, where if you jump and spin at the same time in mid-air as Rock Mario, you can do an additional jump in mid-air, and you can just do as many of those as you want. But it is really difficult to chain them. It's really difficult to even just get a single mid-air rock jump. Now, the reason why I'm bringing that up is there is a skip you can do on Freezy Flake 2 that skips the entire level by using around 8 or 9 mid-air rock jumps, which only one human has ever been able to pull off. And it would save a good amount of time, and it would even be viable for any percent, but since it's so difficult, no one does it. Alright, time for Melty Monster 2. This will be the last time we use Rock Mario in the run. Bye, Luigi. So once you take these ramps, you actually can't stop rolling with the A and Z method, so you just kind of have to keep rolling. This is also a really good level for collecting star bits, if you want to farm star bits for something. Such as, like, you need to unlock, sometimes you need to refill your bank account or something. Also, I'm going to be doing a shake after every jump, because that speeds it up by, like, a few frames. So I'm going to be trying to spit out as many star bits as I can. There is a tiny skip I'm going to go for at the end of this star that's really difficult, and if you screw it up, you die. So I'm going to go for it once, because it is rather finicky, but it will save a couple seconds, and it looks pretty cool. Alright, I got it. So I call that zigzag skip. Basically, if you have a precise enough position, you can roll across those gaps without having to take those fences. It requires really precise inputs on your angles, and again, if you mess it up, you die and you lose like 45 seconds, but if you can pull it off like that, it's pretty neat. And you get an extra life of 100 coins, because yes. So we're done with Melty Monster now. Now it's time for Clockwork Ruins Galaxy. Clockwork Ruins doesn't really offer you that many options for fast stars. I do want to get to Throwback, because that has 3 pretty quick stars. So I'm going to be collecting the secret star here, which requires collecting 30 coins to defeat a Hungry Luma. And I can do all of that on just this first planet. The problem is that this is a very cycle bit heavy star as well. And if I die here, then the cycles are going to be really thrown off and not fast. So I'm going to try to get those 2 coins this cycle. This route is fairly safe. There is a route that's slightly faster than this, but this route's still pretty good. I'm going to get 11 points from this first section. I'm going to head over here. I'm going to go into first-person mode for a couple seconds here to advance the cycles of the gear up ahead. So the one after this one. It's a rather tricky triple jump I'm going to try to do here. Got it. Oh, okay, I'm just going to play it safe. I really don't want to die here. 10 points from this box, and then the last point I can just get from this final gear. And that's 30. So had to lose a little bit of time on that second gear because I messed up a little bit, but I didn't die. That's all that matters, and I got the Hungry Loom unlocked. So now the star is basically done, because this is another planet that you're supposed to hit a bunch of swishes to slow down time while dodging hammers. But I'm just going to do a triple jump wall kick from the bottom to the top and skip that entire planet. Like that. So much easier than doing that the intended way. So now we have access to Throwback Galaxy, and for those of you who have played Super Mario 64 or watching the SM64 Odyssey runs or whatever, you probably recognize this level. This is Throwback Galaxy, it's kind of a tribute to Whomp's Fortress from Super Mario 64. It's a pretty nice little reference, and the first star is very similar to the first star of Whomp's Fortress in the original game, and the Comet Medal is actually where the Shoot into the Wild Blue star was from SM64. So this is going to be me doing my best Chizo 5 impersonation right here. The movement isn't nearly as flashy as it is in SM64. I'm just going to do a bunch of long jumps, you know. I'm going to do a nice little triple jump and a ledge hop here to get up here. Or just a wall jump, that works just as well. And we're just going to use wall jumping to climb all the way up here. We're going to go up here. And you can actually skip having to kill this Whomp, but no. It requires using this Whomp, falling on you, and jumping at the very edge of it, right as it lands on you, to clip through the floor and end up on the other side. But the clip is stupidly precise, and if you mess it up, you die. Again, really not marathon safe. And I can't even do it consistently, so I don't even bother. Right, here's the Whomp King, who's gotten a bit of an upgrade since Mario 64. You can't do the ground pound trick to go through him like you can in SM64. You do have to fight this guy kind of legit. This boss is really easy to die to, and since I haven't grabbed the checkpoint, I would have to redo the entire level, which I have had to resort to in runs before. Including one run where I actually died to this boss twice while on 305 pace. It was a sad day. But thankfully, you shouldn't really die to this boss if you know what you're doing. Which thankfully I know what I'm doing. I did a jump there because when King Whomp is shaking like that, you can do a jump, and if you time it just right, you kind of get a huge jump into the air, and it's useless, but it's really cool. Alright, there we go. So that was a nice little reference to SM64. I'm trying to refrain from saying throwback. So in addition to that being a cool little star, it is fast, and it gives me access to two other pretty fast stars, which are Throwback 2 and Throwback Comet. Throwback 2 is going to be a Silver Stars mission, with the Silver Stars kind of spread all about. And you would think that they would have placed the Silver Stars in, like, red coin locations from the original game, but instead they just kind of threw them around the level randomly and gave you Cloud Mario. Which, honestly, isn't that much worse. And the movement from and just like Starshine Beach, the movement from each Silver Star is pretty neat. It's a pretty cool route. So at the start here, I'm going to long dip and I'm going to bounce off this Bob-omb Buddy. I'm going to hold A when doing so I can get a little bit more height out of the long jump. So I can land on this platform over here. And wait to get past this guy. Grab the cloud flower. This silver star is a little tricky to grab. You need to make that cloud at just the right time so that you can get back up. I'm going to kind of go off to the right here to abuse the floating cloud mechanics for long jumping over an abyss. Grab those clouds. I'm going to do some cloud boosting here. Oh, so that's what I was talking about earlier with, you can sometimes just get a homing ground pound out of clouds for absolutely no reason. Fortunately, that didn't cost me too much time. I was able to back that up really easily. If you touch water with Cloud Mario, then you also lose Cloud Mario, so that's a concern. There we go. And I ground pound into the star because, in case you haven't noticed, ground pounding is a pretty nice way to travel a large downwards distance quickly because you fall really fast after a ground pound. Now we're going to be heading off to the last Hungry Luma Galaxy of the run, Flash Black Galaxy. So this is where we're going to feed the last of our star bits to this Hungry Luma. To say goodbye to our lovely star bits. So we're taking the bottom route here by going through Flash Black because the top route has a galaxy called Battle Belt, which has a nice gimmick. It's a bunch of planets that have some different enemies you have to kill, but it's really slow. And going this route, you actually have access to many more stars, and Flash Black has 2 really, really fast stars. So even in a no-bank Toad run, it's much more worth it to just get enough star bits to unlock this level. So Flash Black's gimmick is simply every so often the lights will flash on for a brief moment, and other than that the level's basically in darkness. But since I played this game God knows how many times at this point, I've already memorized the layout of this place. So here we go. I'm going to try to grab a few star bits here just in case I use them at the top of the level. Casually using Blink Yoshi again, use infinite floating upwards with Yoshi is very slow, so we just prefer to do this. Oh, that's unfortunate. No. Try to grab Yoshi. Okay, he's falling off. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to go all the way back down. That's a really big time loss. I have no idea where Yoshi is. So that was very unfortunate. That probably just cost me like 30 seconds. So hopefully this Goomba doesn't troll me again. There we go. Alright, potentially cool movement is coming up here. Okay, Yoshi didn't stay up. Okay. If Yoshi had stayed up on that platform, I would have landed back on him and then done a bounce backwards jump off that Jacko Goomba to dismount straight into the wall and started with really swag. Alright, I'm gonna wait for this platform because I don't trust myself. The worst thing you can do in this section is die. So that was very, very unfortunate that I had to fall all the way down. Cost me around 40 seconds, probably. It's okay, though. It's a marathon. You learn to just shake it off. Besides, now we have a fairly relaxing star to deal with. So it's time for Slimy Spring, which is where I'm gonna ask for a ton of resident sleepers. Anyway, so Slimy Spring is basically 2 minutes of just swimming underwater with the shell. That's kind of it. Not very exciting. This is a nice little breather point before we get back into the... There's a couple of stars after this that are major run killers, and so this is a nice little breather star. I'm going to go for another slow boost here. Nice. And now we get the shell and just kind of go like this. So I'm basically just gonna try to take as straight of a path as possible. I'm gonna go out of my way here to get the comet medal. This will be the last comet medal I get. Not much to say here. So we're going to move on to the second section now, finally. There's still more to this level. So I've already collected a coin, so I'm not really going to go for this. But if you want, it is possible to do this star coinless, which should save about a second again because of the text boxes. Doing so would require going to the very outer edges of these rings without touching the coins. And if you ram into the shell, if you ram into the wall while holding the shell at this high of a speed, you will actually lose the shell, which actually happened in my PB. My PB had a really, really bad late game. I'm going to go for a cool little jump out of the water here. Hopefully I get this. It's pretty simple, you just need to have a decent enough angle. Just like that. Captain Toad is stupid as always. There we go. So this is the last normal star we'll be collecting before Bowser's Galaxy Generator, which was the final Bowser level. So we only have 6 stars left before it's finally time to beat the game. 2 of them are going to be from World 3, 2 of them from World 4, 2 of them from World 6, all of them are going to be comets. So the first one I'm actually going to be getting is... Okay, and I have every comet medal, so that's good. I didn't miss anything. I've made no routing mistakes so far. So the first comet I'm going to be getting is Honey Hall's Comet. Honey Hall's Comet, I could have actually done this star way, way earlier in the run, but due to routing stuff that's way too complicated to explain, I need a buffer star in between here and Beat Block's Comet. So this is the buffer star that we chose. This is the last half of Honey Hall's 2, but with Cosmic Clones, it's still a bunch of long jumps. Although it's slightly different this time though, but not much. Hopefully we don't get ruined by that. What a lovely star to have for the first death of the run, am I right? That's not the first time I've choked to death this running this star, though. Don't worry. This star is kind of annoying. That first second is really weird with the camera. It's really easy to get screwed over. Alright, from here on out, I should be safe. Fortunately, that death was right at the beginning, so it didn't cost me too much time. This is another really short star. But now we get to move on to Beat Block Comet and 2 back-to-back really easy run enders. So Beat Block's Comet, this spawns at 31 Comet medals, and Gravity Gauntlet spawns at 32. So this is basically the star but sped up. So the star name says it's in double time. However, in the first star, the blocks would switch every 8 beats of the song. In this star, they switch every other beat. So Nintendo actually lies to you. It's 4 times as fast in this star. In addition, the area where the silver stars are has been expanded, and it's just a lot more difficult overall. I'm also going to be getting Yoshi in the start, and you probably already know what I'm going to do. I don't even have to explain it. Here we go. Just going to kind of skip over all of this. Alright, and since I'm skipping over this checkpoint, I can't die now. So I'm going to try and play it as safe as I can, while still going fast. Okay, that was good. It's very easy to die in that last section, so I'm really happy that that went well. But we're not out of the woods quite yet, because now it's time for the run ender. So Gravity Gauntlet Comet, this is probably one of the biggest run killers in the category, especially in the late game. So earlier in Gravity Gauntlet 1, I did Behind the Castle. That's actually not the fastest skip you can do. There's actually a skip, also discovered by Nemi, that saves around 10 seconds more than the other skip. And it involves hitting a lava wall, which, if you hit a lava wall and then land in the lava again, you get boosted horizontally rather than vertically, and you'll gain huge speed. And you can actually use that to do an even bigger gravity skip. However, it requires doing very specifically timed inputs in the air. And this is yet another strat where if you screw it up, you die and you lose 35 seconds. And the inputs required are extremely precise, so hopefully I'll get this first try. But I am going to go for it until I get it, because the skip looks really, really cool. And this is another speedrun comment with the best song in the game. Alright, here we go. Alright, that should be fine. Okay. I'm very happy I got that first try. So, if you land too far left on that platform, then you'll just fall through the floor and die. And sometimes that can happen even if you don't land too far left. The inputs required to do while in midair there, you have to switch from right to left to up left in a very short amount of time, and at very specific points in time. Again, if any part of that procedure goes wrong, you die. So I'm very happy that I got that skip first try, and it does look really cool and saves a lot of time. I once killed a PB pace run to falling through the floor 3 times in a row. So I've obviously gotten a lot better at that since then. But now we get a couple of breather stars, thankfully. This is probably the easiest star in the run, at least in late game. So this could have been a level where the purple coins were all spread around and you had to search for them and it was a collectathon, but instead they just kind of did this and they made it a Dash Yoshi mission. It's like less than 40 seconds long. So this is what I meant by this star is really fast and definitely worth doing. Although it is kind of tricky because you have to be very specific with your nunchuck stick movement in order to not miss any purple coins. But they give you way more than 100 purple coins. You have 140, I believe. And right now this is really terrible. So I'm going to have to grab some from this last set because there's no way I have enough. So yeah, had I had way more coins coming out of that third to last set, I would have actually cut around the tower and skipped the second to last set, which would save a couple seconds. But that's fine. As long as you just do the star quickly, you're basically good to go. Alright, now we have the last 2 stars are in World 6, and then it's just off to Bowser. Gonna use the Grand World Map one final time. And we're gonna start by doing Throwback's Comet, which is basically Throwback 2, but on a timer, and it's basically going to be the exact same star, minus, hopefully, the random homing ground pound that happened. The only real major difference is a couple of cycles at the start of the level are going to be slightly different because of the level intro cutscene showing different parts of the level, and so the little pusher out here and one of the moving platforms are on cycles are a bit tighter to make. So this cycle is pretty tight to make. But with good enough long jumps, it's not too hard. So from here on out, it's basically the exact same as Throwback 2. Aside from maybe some like very, very minor subtleties. Not too bad. Not too shabby. Alright, at this point there's only 1 star left before we get to move on, and that is Flash Black's Comet. So this might seem like a bit of an anticlimactic 70th star, but it involves a skill that no other star on this run requires, and that is the ability to multitask. So there's 30 Octumba enemies that you have to kill at the start. It's the 4th and final Romp Star. And there's 3 ways you can kill these enemies. You can either jump on them, spin them, or shoot them with a star bit and then run into them. Most of them I'm going to try to kill by using the shooting them with the star bit method. This requires you to be able to collect star bits, pay attention to your star bit counter, aim star bits, shoot them, and control Mario all at the same time. It takes a lot of work to get good at multitasking. And you also have to keep track of so much, and it's really satisfying when I do the star goes well. So I'm going to try to focus here for the first part. Jump on a few of them here just because it's convenient for me to do that. Sometimes it's more convenient to just attack them one of the other 2 ways, just so that you can not make the force take any chances. And at the end here you get Yoshi here, and you can actually use his tongue to eat up some of the enemies. And since you can eat 2 enemies at a time, you can actually eat up to 3 objects at a time with Yoshi, which is kind of cool. And very useful. So I saw like a couple times there I was able to eat 2 enemies at a time. And that is our 70th star, so it is time for Bowser's Galaxy Generator, the final level. But first, we have to now do the hardest skip in the entire run. I didn't practice this very much, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to pull it off very well. And it saves a good chunk of time, so there's a lot at stake here. Let's see if I get this. Got it! Free. So, in case you couldn't tell from the very obvious acting, that skip is literally free. Basically, it's called Purple Idiot Skip. There's a cutscene on the space right before the final, right before the Galaxy Generator space. But if you click on the Galaxy Generator space with the Wii Remote, instead of moving there with the nunchuck, you just skip over the cutscene. It saves like 35 seconds. It was found by OddMe in late 2015. And it's probably the biggest meme of the entire run. it's now time for the final Bowser level, which is a really, really fun level, and definitely an epic level to finish off the speedrun with. There's a lot of really cool tricks, and really cool strats. And it's also rather difficult, but it's still really good. So we got lava wall boost here, just get fighting those hammer rows, or just fall all the way down there. I'm gonna grab the spin drill to drill through there, and now I'm gonna dish it as soon as possible so that I can long jump and also spin after jumping, which will allow me to do a couple small sequence breaks here. I'm gonna veer off to the left there a little bit to make some cycles on this next planet slightly better. This is yet another strat found by How To Cantaloupe, another top level runner. This planet is a little weird. This last section can be a little finicky. Sometimes bullbills can break your clouds, or sometimes gravity can be a little bit weird. It's just, you know, time sometimes. And you can fall all the way down if you screw up. And now, to top it all off, we have one final infinite flutter. And this is one of my favorite infinite flutters in the entire run, just because it saves a lot of time, and it's a really cool looking skip. Also got another frame perfect camera cancel there. And this is a somewhat complicated infinite flutter though, because I have to do it in 2 parts due to the 10-second cooldown. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to infinite flutter from there all the way to the top of this castle. And then I'm going to basically infinite flutter over that entire pit of lava and dismount to get all the way to the final section. That should work. Okay, unfortunately I'm not going to get the top shelf, but... So you can actually land on the top platform with a really good enough flutter, but it was... My angle was kind of off, and I kind of dismounted with a weird amount of momentum, so I wasn't able to get it. It only saved a couple seconds, though, so it's not too bad. And there we go. So now we are off to the final Bowser fight. So, provided that this fight goes well, I'm on pace to get a 306, which is a really, really good time for a reset list for me. This Bowser fight is very similar to the fight from Gravity Gauntlet, with the shock waves and the punch cancel and whatnot, but the difference is Bowser will throw out 3 meteors instead of 2, so it's a little bit easier, and also he's a lot faster to pull out his punches. So I have to be a lot quicker with because if you wait too long after Bowser punches, the meteors will just sort of disappear, and you have to wait for a whole new cycle. And as you can see, yeah, Bowser's way, way faster at pulling out his punches on this fight. I'm going to try to go for another punch cancel here. Let's see if I actually get this time. It saves a little bit more time on this fight, since again, Bowser's quicker to pull out his punch here, so I spend less time setting it up. Okay, that was kind of... I almost hit that in a bad way, because Bowser's shell can deflect the meteors. Okay. So those first 2 hits went alright. Now, if there was ever a time for me to miss a hit, this is now. Because these last 2 hits are very, very, very difficult. The 3rd hit, you barely have any time to make the hit before Bowser pulls his fist out. So you either have to get it right away or wait for him to be in a good enough position. So, okay, this is good. So as you can see, like, if I had waited like maybe half a second longer, he would have pulled his fist out. Alright, just one more hit, and this fight will be over. There we go. So, yeah, that's just about it. Now, time is gonna be coming up pretty soon, so, oh god, I'm dropping frames, why? Time's gonna be coming up kind of soon, so get ready for that on my mark. I just need to get to the star, you know? And... What? Oh my god, he's back. How did he survive that? But yeah, this fight is ridiculously easy. It's literally press A and Z 4 times and you win. That first hit can be easily done by just ground pounding at the right time. These last 3 hits, though, I am going to kind of have to aim. Also, this music is epic, but you don't get to hear like all of it, which is really sad. And Bowser's one attack drops a coin, so it's literally impossible to die in this fight. And that's it. So now time is going to be actually coming up. So time is going to be when I touch the Grand Star. So just get ready for that on my mark. This is a very, very solid time for a marathon. I'm very, very happy that the run went this well. I actually didn't finish a run before this marathon after realizing that it had been accepted, so I'm really happy with a mid 3:06. This is like less than a minute and a half off of my PB. Alright, time's going to be coming up soon. I just have one more long jump left, and the run will be over. Time! Alright, my timer says 3:06:28. That's actually the second best time I've ever gotten in a marathon by 1 second. So I'm very, very happy with how that run went. That is a really, really good run. So I'm gonna give a few shout-outs here in the end. So first shout-out I want to give is to Valu111, who is the current world record holder for this category with a 3:01:57. Nemi43 has a 3:03:03. I am third place with a 3:05:10. Just for the record, this run still would have been third place by over 3.5 minutes on the leaderboards. Other shout-outs I want to give. How to Candle, I shouted out several times. He is another top runner of this game. He hasn't really been playing much as of late, but he's a very, very skilled player. Alexander hasn't really been playing much recently, but he has a lot of potential. The Sludgy Gamer is a top runner of Galaxy 1 and is also very well versed in this game as well. Hardcore Gaming 07 and Danny GG are both very fast improving Galaxy 1 runners. Definitely check them both out. YoshiFan28 has done a lot of research on both of the Galaxy games, and he's done so much for the improvement and optimization of this game. I can't really... Also, Nemi43, again, sick IL runner and just overall sick player in general. And, yeah, he definitely has potential for sub 3. So, that's basically it. I would highly recommend joining the Super Mario Galaxy Discord if you want to learn either of the Galaxy games. And I have a bunch of I have a playlist full of tutorials on my YouTube channel for some of the harder tricks in this run, for anybody who's interested. So, yeah. So, we're not done yet, though, because a donation incentive has been met. So, sorry, but we're not going to watch the credits. So, we are going to do the perfect run. So, this is the 242nd star of the game. You collect this after getting the 120 normal stars, then the 120 green stars, then Grandmaster 1. And then afterwards, you have to have 9,999 star bits in the bank toad, and unless you already have a 242 file, in which case you don't need that. And this is basically an extreme challenge course under Daredevil restrictions. So we haven't had a Daredevil comment yet. Daredevil comments are basically just Daredevil comments, you can only take one hit, and if you take that one hit, you die, and you also get no checkpoints throughout this entire level. So here we go.
Okay,
this
Viper.
first section right off the bat, I'm going to go for some tricky infinite flutter strats, and I'm going to skip the cutscenes to make cycles a bit easier to manage. So I'm just going to use the infinite flutter here to go underneath all these obstacles. That's actually kind of precise, and it doesn't really save that much time, if any, but it does help a little bit. So here I'm going to try to not jump as much as possible by just barely walking off the edges of these platforms. I only have to do one jump in that section. I do have to ditch Yoshi for the next section though, so I'm just going to ditch him into this launch star. Alright, so we're going to get Cloud Luigi here, and kind of go through here, just skip climbing up there. This section is pretty simple. You just don't want to touch the lasers. Again, if I die anywhere in this star, I have to redo the entire level, even if I die at the very end. We'll want to jump into that launch star again so I can cancel a landing animation here. So this is what I was going to do on Chompworks 1, but I wasn't able to do it, so I'm going to do it here. So I need to leave that section with 2 clouds, no more, no less, because that'll allow me to do some cloud strats here. So in the next section, I'm going to be doing some pole star momentum abuse. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to go underneath the pole star, grab it from below, and then release the pole star before I reach its center. And this will cause me to shoot upwards really high, and I can use this to skip over a bunch of lasers. Okay. I almost died there because I didn't get my Wii remote first in time. So this just makes this section a lot easier, and it also does save quite a bit of time. Alright, just one more section left. And it's the infamous Boomerang Bros section. So you only have to kill the 3 Boomerang Bros at the end in order to progress. But I'm also going to kill a couple of other Hammer Bros just to make it a little bit easier. So I'm going to kill this guy. And then I'm going to kill this one over here to make my life slightly easier. So here's the final 3 Boomerang Bros. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take out these 2 by just jumping on their heads. And then I'm going to take out this one with a single ground pound. And easy every time. First try, perfect run. Easy every time. Also, fun fact, there is a 1 up here. And there we go. That's the perfect run. So that is all I have to offer for Super Mario Galaxy 2. Thank you for watching. I'm very, very, very happy with how that went. And, yeah. So, I'm not going to be out of the marathon yet. I still have 2 more runs left to do, which are Super Mario 64 70-star CCC list and Pack and Roll Remix. So I'll be doing those both on Sunday. And, yeah, I don't really have anything left to say, so I'm going to throw it on.